How's it going, everybody? This is a special show for you guys today on the Christian Harloff Show. So what I guess it was about 2 years ago now, we got brought an opportunity from an old sponsor. Actually, it said, "Hey, do you and John and Dan want to do a show together, and you guys can talk about some of the best stuff that you liked the year?" And we wound up doing that, and then we liked doing it so much that even when we didn't have the sponsor, we did it last year, and we did it remote. It was, everybody was on their own respective places, and we did the same thing this year. This year the schedule's a little tougher, but we said we got to get it done because it's been a little annual tradition. That, of course, is myself, John Rocha, Dan Murrell, talking about the best of 2024, both TV and movies. We go back and forth. We just pick a couple of things, not necessarily a top 10 list, but just things that we want to talk about. And what I always love about this list is that sometimes you'll get ones that two of us agree on, one of us disagree, one that three of us all agree on, one that only one of us agrees on, and it's really been a fun conversation, so I'm excited to do it. The other fun part of it that we've never done before that we're doing for the first time this year is that we're doing it live. So all of you guys are watching us do this live. You can submit the questions. It probably won't be as long of a show inside of the of us talking about the topics because we want to get to your questions. So I would highly recommend firing in those questions now because we have a limited time with both Dan and John today. So that is it. That being said, let's get to it, man. It is the Christian Harloff Show here today. Myself, Dan Murrell, John Rocha. Let's get to it. Welcome back, one and all, to the Christian Harloff Show. Myself, of course, Christian Harloff, joined today on the show from the Dan Murrell Movies channel. Dan Murrell, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Happy belated, my friend.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you you got me all choked up. Thank you very much.
Good. I'm glad. That's what I do. And he can't help himself. You bring it out of him.
I thought we were doing this. No. It's a rematch. It's a rematch.
It's a rematch.
We came in on a TKO. I need my revenge.
Oh no!
Have we ever done that joke before? Because
No,
if not,
I don't know. My blood pressure just spiked.
I know it's a big ruse. It's a big ruse. We've been setting you up, Dan. So yeah, this is fun, guys. I'm glad that we were able to do it because this actually was on me this year, as I said to John. The family got sick, other things that kind of happened, and I didn't get to the scheduling in time. So and Dan was out of town, so I'm glad we were able to do it, even though it's only only a couple days into 2025. We can still make it work.
It's barely started.
Yeah.
So
people still waking up from the haze.
That's right. So I don't know if you guys remember kind of how we do this, but basically you guys have sent a list. I have my list, and I think that we'll just kind of go back and forth on certain movies that we chose and just discuss it. And I think, Dan, we can start with you. This is actually both you guys had this on your list, but Dan, we'll start with you on this one if you want to talk about this movie.
Big glasses. Challengers, yes. Yes, Challengers. It's a movie I really liked. It wasn't one of the things I like about doing this is I don't have to just talk about my top 10. I can talk about movies that I thought were really interesting, and like this is one that I thought it got sold a certain way, and I think people were like expecting maybe the wrong thing from it because I get it. You got to market a movie, you got to sell your movie. It got sold as like the sexy times and threesome movie. But I thought it was just, I love the character work that's done in that movie. Like Luca Guadagnino as a filmmaker, like I like what he does with his characters because he'll take what seems like a simple situation or like it's a romance, and then he gives you these like really interesting portrayals of like the interactions. And I liked how they structured it, and you're kind of jumping around a little bit. The soundtrack, I mean, that would be my pick. I think it's tough, but the score that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did for it was great, and just like you made a tennis game, like us watching a tennis game was like one of the best action scenes of the year because by the end of the movie, they've done such a good job of letting you know what the stakes of it are.
Yeah.
What does it mean to them,
Yeah.
And John, I remember you raving about this when it came out.
Yeah. I think this is the best Guadagnino film he's done, to be honest with you. For me, It worked for me. I know people love Call Me By Your Name, they love Suspiria, these other films, but for this one, for me, this one worked. It checked all the boxes. As a fan of tennis since I was a child, this really worked for me in terms of how they portrayed tennis in this film. And then seeing the characterization with all three of these actors doing incredible work. I mean, O'Connor faced Zendaya. They're all kind of staking their own claims here as actors in their careers over the last few years. But the sexual combustibility and electricity in this film is only part of what you enjoy. As Dan said, they pitched it that way, but there's so much more in their relationship, so much more in the changing. And sometimes you forget being in your 20s when everything is so important. Every single thing you do is so important. So they brought that out really well. And the changes are believable. The organic moves that they make are believable. And what it leads to in that battle and that ending, I thought artistically, Guadagnino was like, this is my movie, whether you like it or not. And I thought there was a gutsiness and a boldness to this film that I think other films this year didn't quite have. And so I appreciated it for that as well.
I think I definitely appreciated it. I don't know if I loved it as much as you guys did, but I definitely liked it a lot. And I think that there's a couple movies that we're going to talk about on this list that I feel the same way. Like the first two acts really enjoyed, and then the ending was just like, okay. It was like, that's fine. I could, and I thought that the music kind of was really solid, as you said, Dan, but I think that sometimes the volume overpowered the scenes. Even I know that was the artistic choice, but I think sometimes it just
there was a couple dialogue scenes where I did feel like it was like, okay, I'm not sure if we need the music here. I get the artistic choice, but I will agree on the dialogue. There's a couple dialogue scenes where it was a bit distracting.
There was a couple of times because the dialogue was so good, and I like Luca a lot. Actually, his new movies probably going to be on my most anticipated list this year. The cast involved in that in general, but like what he does, they become almost like different type of event films. But you just know you're going to get something special out of it because everything you said, I agree with both you guys. Is that the dynamic was there, the chemistry, the performances, just. There, and as I mentioned, there's going to be other movies that if they just hit a different ending for me, I probably would have had them so much higher up on my list. This one didn't make my list, but it was definitely. I understand why people really dig it, and I agree with both of you that that tennis is represented in a very solid way here. So.
I want to say that I'm a fan of the music being the way it is in the film. I think that's on purpose. It's supposed to be an unsettling and I know you guys say the artistic choices, but I think he did. That's part of the boldness. He's like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to mess you up. I'm going to mess you up the whole film. I'm not going to let you feel comfortable about all of this, and anything's going to happen at any moment. So keeping you unsettled the whole time, I think, is the point. And I like that he made that decision. I like when directors mess with the audiences. I'm a fan of that kind of stuff. So, but I can totally understand how it might have thrown some people off. I just liked it.
I understand. Just that was one. I don't know if it made. Didn't make my top 10. I don't think it made your top 10, Dan. Did it make your top 10, Rocha?
No, just barely. Okay. Only because there were so many good things that came out at the tail end of the year that pushed it down.
Okay, so this one was one that John put on his list, and he and I actually spoke about it yesterday. It's a television show, and John, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, I really loved them coming back with this season. Such a fan of what Jodie Foster was able to do in this show. I mean, this is a very complex character. A lot of interesting flaws that she has as a person. And we see the history of her in that town, being moved to that town, and the history she had coming into that town and what happens there, the stuff with her daughter, the Native American aspect of it all there with the Alaskan city there, and all of that they explore, but also what they explore in terms of how they treated this young woman in the film. When you see in the series rather, when you see the flashbacks and their interactions, I thought that was great. And was it Callie Reese? I think is the actress's name. What an announcement! What a strong announcement to come in and go toe to toe with Jodie Foster in every scene and have an arc be laid out really well for both of these powerful, strong ladies, so that by the end they come together to handle this stuff. And Fiona Shaw, who's become the greatest guest star in all shows in 2024, delivers yet again with her storyline as well in the show.
Dan, did you watch this season of television?
No, I didn't. I'm generally not great on TV, and also True Detective sort of burned out its goodwill with me when it kind of failed the second or third time they tried to relaunch it. Not failed, but it just never really grabbed me. So I've heard good things, but I didn't get a chance to watch this one.
I watched a lot of it, and I was digging it. I don't know why I didn't go back to it. I just think that says a lot for a lot of different shows sometimes for me, is that if I'm really locked in, I got to finish it. For this one, I was like, I'll get to it eventually. And I think that there's a supernatural element to this one that I went, I don't know if I'm on board for this as much.
But yeah, well, that's the twist. But
oh yeah, okay.
Because you didn't finish it.
I didn't finish it. I didn't finish it. So maybe there's more to it for sure.
Yes.
For sure. And I mean, the performances are great. A Golden Globe win for Jodie Foster, which John thought she deserved. So there you go. That's TV and that's True Detective. I'm going to bounce back to movies for a second because I'm going to go with one that I thought was I thought this movie was going to be terrible. I thought the trailer was awful. I was ready for another stink bomb, and I didn't get that in Transformers 1. I got a really solid movie. I got a movie that I was, as a Transformers fan, the lore, the origin of when I was. Someone asked me the other day of what the biggest surprise was of the year, and I completely forgot about this one, and I shouldn't have, because it was I couldn't believe it. I had a big Kool-Aid smile on my face the entire time I was watching this one. I liked the origin story, I liked the way that they played it. I liked the way that they even used the humor inside of it. I thought worked wonderful. There was an origin story that I didn't know if I needed, and the way that they actually put it together made a lot of sense, and I wanted to see the rest of the world. The music, the animation was beautiful. I think it's underrated on a whole bunch of different levels. I think it's underrated on box office. I think it's underrated in recognition for an animated film. So yeah, Transformers 1. I know that John liked it. I don't know Dan's opinion on this one.
Yeah.
Sounds similar to John. I liked it.
Okay.
Certainly not as much as a lot of people in the comments section who felt that I had greatly underrated it. I didn't watch Transformers when I was a kid.
Okay.
Because it had guns and stuff in it, and I was, there's certain things I could watch and couldn't watch. The trailer was garbage, and it got the movie off on such a wrong foot. I was just like, this looks terrible. I don't know what the marketing department was thinking on that. I thought it was good. I thought they did some good character work. Yeah, I think I just maybe didn't have as much investment in it than a lot of people did.
Sorry, I don't know why I threw that up there. It's a problem with engineering live. So yeah, John, and because we talked about this, and you are big Transformers, and you like those whatever those things are that Michael Bay makes. So
$1 billion films, yes.
Yeah, great. A lot of movies made $1 billion.
A lot of movies, yeah,
exactly.
A lot of movies make $1 billion.
So what do you mean? So by that rationale, you love all the Jurassic World movies?
No, I don't. I'm saying what I'm saying is that people clearly like them to push them over $1 billion. So hate on it if you like.
People like a lot of dumb things. All right, go ahead. So did you like?
Don't make me comment. Yes, I do. I did love. I liked Transformers 1, as Dan hinted at, and you did as well, Christian. I thought the animation beautiful. I thought the voiceover performance from Chris Hemsworth was really good. Scarlett Johansson, Keegan-Michael Key stole the show as Bumblebee. I thought there was a lot of fun humor with that character as well. And Brian Tyree Henry did a nice job here. But to me, where I think the film kind of stumbles is they make his turn so quick and don't do enough to lay the foundation for you to feel that turn, so it feels tragic, because it is two friends breaking up over something because one was deluded by what essentially the people in charge told him, and he had believed, and he had stayed the straight arrow. And I would have liked to have seen more of the progressive delusion happen, so that when the betrayal in his mind happens, we're feeling that and we want him to come back. And I didn't feel that when the turn happened. It felt a little rushed. But that being said, when Brian Tyree Henry makes the turn, he makes it work acting wise for real. So I just wish the story itself would have done a stronger job doing that.
That's fair. And then I kind of spoiled it already with the thumbnail, but we'll get back to it anyway. Dan, this was one that is on all three of our lists, but you haven't talked TV yet, so we figured let's do it.
Oh, yes. Really loved this show. And, I'm a huge Batman fan. That doesn't mean I'm in the tank for anything Batman related. I love the movie, but part of me, was like, I'm curious, Colin Farrell was great, but how are they going to, it could have been so many things, including just forgettable. It could have just been another crime show. I was never a big Gotham guy. I watched it for a few years. I'm like, it's fine. What they did with his character, and then the performances, Kristen Milioti, Colin Farrell continuing to crush it. It's the idea of they didn't take it for granted. That's what I respected. They didn't take it for granted and just be like, yeah, whatever. We'll make a Penguin show, Gotham City. we'll have him do the thing. We'll throw in a Batman reference so that we're done. It's like, no, they actually came in and said, we're going to make this a compelling story. We're going to give this guy a background. And then that relationship with him and Victor, the setup they did with that. And then, because it's the problem of, if you're going to make a villain the quote unquote protagonist of your show, then how are you going to make the audience see them as a villain? And I should have seen what they were doing with it, and I didn't. And God, by the end of it, I'm like, I hate this guy. And it's like, that's the point. That's the whole point. So yeah, they put effort into it, and it was really well done. That they drew characters around him that were interesting. It wasn't just all Penguin. I thought, I mean, if you take it out of the Batman, it's just a really good crime drama, like to totally remove it from Batman mythology, which they basically did.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I thought that as well, Dan. It's a standalone series. It doesn't need to have Batman in it, and it didn't have Batman in it, even though people were clamoring to see Batman in it. It worked without him. Just that illusion at the end with the bat signal in the sky was nice. Like Dan, I'm a Batman fan. I grew up reading all the comics. So the fact that Matt Reeves was able to bring what I love about the area of the Batman that I love, which is the darker, grittier aspect of it all, bring it to life in such a vibrant way, in an interesting way, an unsettling way. There are some brutal moments in this series that I think were shocking to a lot of people. And humanizing the Penguin is the greatest thing they could do to turn him evil and make you hate him, but also have a small part of you that hopes like he can somehow come back. What he does to Renzi Feliz by the end of the show is so shocking. I thought it was gonna go another direction. And when he did what he did, it was such perfect timing. And the chemistry with him and Kristen Milioti was great. The chemistry with him and his mom was really something that stood out. And the way they brought that world to life. And you see that this is a kid from a broken family who had a lot of negative influences on him from people who had their ulterior motives around. How else was this guy going to turn out? So there's so much here that you can just kind of dive into and explore and go deeper into that I thought was fantastic. Lauren LaFranc deserves so much credit for show running this thing and nailing it.
Well, I didn't think that there'd be anybody that would be able to get booed more than Colin Farrell did at the end of this show. But then I watched Hulk Hogan on Netflix last night.
And boy, did he get booed.
Wow, I couldn't believe it. Second he walked out promoting it's like one thing after the next. Andre the Giant, boo. Macho Man, boo. My beer, boo. It's like he couldn't win. But Colin Farrell is genius in this role. Milioti, genius in this role. Renzi Feliz, genius in this role. They all just came together. It's one of those shows that just kind of had that magic on it, man. Like you just knew you were watching something special. And I was a little jaded because I remember hearing that Boba Fett was going to be like the Sopranos of the Star Wars world, and he wasn't really he wasn't even a gangster. This is the Godfather of Star Wars. There was nothing even remotely close to it. So when you start hearing this is the Sopranos, this is Breaking Bad, but it's in Gotham, you're like, okay, I've heard that dance before. But this is this delivered. This delivered on so many different levels. It kept you intrigued. It was brutal. It was smart. It was tragic. There were so many different things that they threw you at a twist for. I love this show. I really did. There's only one show. I feel this is the best show that was made, but there's only one show I think that I liked a little bit better that we'll discuss later. But that's also because of my personal taste. I really dug this show a lot.
I think the greatest compliment you give it is that it belongs in league with the best of the HBO shows, like The Wire and Sopranos. It belongs in that Game of Thrones. The best of it. It belongs in that conversation, and that's a hell of an accomplishment because, as you said, not a lot of people saw this one coming.
Yeah. All right, John. So then the next one here we have is a film that you guys both chose. I still haven't had a chance to see it, but I want to hear you talk about it.
Ooh, yeah. You haven't had a free half day?
No. 6 months, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this film, it just absolutely puts you in the washer and wrings you out to dry, man. It is an incredible film. I went in thinking this is going to be an inspiring immigrant story about overcoming these obstacles and challenges, coming out of World War II as a Jewish survivor of the Holocaust and building your way. And it has elements of that, but it is really not that at all. It's actually an exploration of class warfare, an exploration of from the haves and the have-nots, and how you can get abused by the haves in multiple ways, both physically and emotionally and mentally, and what that does to you, and trying to maintain some sort of sanity within it all. Yet you're an artistic genius who's only getting certain moments to show what you can do, and you have to battle all these things in order to achieve it. But the film takes so many twists and turns that absolutely unsettle you. But Brady Corbett, what a confident hand as a director. The cinematography here is stellar. I know some people feel the second half of the movie doesn't 100% come together as strongly as the first half, but I disagree. I kind of like where it goes. I like that it unsettles you. I like that it throws you off. And I like that it challenges you as a viewer because you're desperate for that happy ending, and it doesn't necessarily deliver that. And there's a gutsiness in that I appreciated overall. Brody is great, and so is Guy Pearce. He's the one that should be talking about, not Kieran Culkin, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing, because Kieran Culkin's the co-lead in this movie, but that's the problem with the awards this year.
That's true.
Guy Pearce is fantastic in this. And I mean, there's a reason why the poster and one of the first things you see is the Statue of Liberty upside down.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, you realize, because I the same thing I'd heard. It's like it's a drama about the American dream. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it is,
Yeah.
but not necessarily in the way that, you know, a lot of people might think that it is. But it's so well. I mean, the acting really more than anything, and the sound design, the music, the fact that they made. I think they said they made this for like less than 10 million. That's nutty what they were able to do, especially shooting on 70 millimeter. It's a commitment. That's the that's my worry. You know, when we talk about awards and stuff, is it's a commitment. You gotta block off a half a day, and it's heavy. You know, I mean, it's not. A lot of people, because I saw it. The only way I could see it in time to vote for critic stuff was to watch it at home, and luckily what I had was, it looked great, but I want to see it on the big screen. But it's like, I got to find, it's like, when will I have enough time, and when will I be in the proper headspace to see this thing again? But it's so good. It's like, it's movies. It's like, it's what movies can be. And it shows that you can be epic, and you don't have to, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a superhero movie, or you're making a movie about World War II or whatever. Like, this movie is epic, but it is very constrained to this group of people.
Yeah, it's a long movie, so I'm trying to find the time to actually watch it, because it's one of those things that sometimes it takes me with these movies a couple days to watch it, and I'm like, I don't want to do that with this one. I want to try to actually find the time and sit down and watch it, and not pause it, not come back to it. So I will get to it. But all right, it's my choice here too. And I actually, you know, I just kind of teased the television story, so I might as well just talk about it now. My favorite television show that I've watched this year was Dark Matter. I loved this show, man. I love the premise of it. I love the idea of it. It's Joel Edgerton, who's just one of my favorite actors, and coupled with Jennifer Connelly, and just seeing the creativity and showing what Apple TV is doing on their platform. It's a clever story. It is, again, a multiverse type of story, but it's not. I think unfortunately, you know, there's no shot at Marvel, but I think Marvel's kind of diluted that premise of the multiverse to where you're like, oh my God, the multiverse. And the idea of the multiverse was around way before Marvel. And the way that they actually play this, and the way that they play with time, play with the way that the actual science of it was very intriguing to me. So I was locked in, and I was excited to hear that they're going to do a season 2. But did either one of you guys get a chance to check this series out?
I did not.
Okay.
Apple TV has some effect on me. I get amnesia whenever I'm trying to decide what to watch, and I never think to watch anything. All I've heard from almost every Apple TV show is how good it is.
Yeah.
And I have watched like 2 of them. So
well, you did watch this next thing here that you chose, and we'll stick with TV on this one, Dan, and that's of course Agatha All Along.
I did. And honestly, this is one that, you know, there's some things that I watch sort of on my downtime, or I'll watch, you know, because it's like, oh yeah, I'm super excited for that. And then there's some things that, you know, we all do it because we all do this. Sometimes you'll watch something because it's like, well, I'm going to check it out for the channel. It doesn't necessarily mean that I like only watch things. Like I've watched plenty of stuff that I'm like, I should watch for the channel, and I don't talk about it because I'm like, I don't really have a take on it, or I don't really feel strongly one way or the other. I don't know if I would have watched it, honestly, if I weren't checking it out to see, if I wanted to talk about it, because it's Marvel and there's interest around it. I was so surprised by this show. And it was like the cheapest Marvel show, I think, by a long shot. And I thought it was one of the best ones. Again, it took a character who, because I heard it was just like Agatha, like, yeah, she did the song like it's like 3 years ago. Like what? And they did sort of what they did with Penguin. I thought it was interesting. They were on at the same time. You take a character who's a villain, who you know from a movie already or a show already, and you surround them with other interesting characters, and you build a backstory for that character that's compelling on its own. It's not like, oh, Agatha's bad because of this event that happened 2 movies ago that you'll find more about in 3 movies. No, it's like you find out her backstory and what's going on with her, and then that ensemble cast with Patty Lupone, like show business legend, and Shashir Zamata and Aubrey Plaza. I mean, like the whole cast top to bottom was great. I love the structure of the show. It was actually, and this is what I respected about it, it was a TV show. An episode was an episode. It wasn't 30 minutes of a movie they stretched to make 4 hours long. Every episode had a theme, a beginning, a middle, and end. It took you from one place to the next place on this journey. It was a linear story. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun show. I thought I like what they did with the character. I don't care what they do with Agatha in the MCU going forward, and I love that the show wasn't really concerned with that for most of it. I just thought it was an entertaining show.
John, I think you're on the same page, right?
Yeah, very entertaining show. And like Dan, I think I went in with a little more hope that it was going to be good. And of course, we covered it on Geek Buddies. But I found myself really enjoying the progression of the show because it came out at the same time as the Penguin. So having both of them going at the same time, you were able to see 2 different approaches to a TV show. And both of them are, as Dan said, TV shows. And so they adhere to that formula. And I like that they worked in different ways so well. Dan hit all the big points, but I do want to bring up the chemistry between Catherine Hahn and Joe Locke is really the massive selling point. Yes, all the witches, they cast this really well. Aubrey Plaza is so great in this as well, playing Death in essence. But those 2, Joe Locke and Catherine Hahn, the easy chemistry they had together, that's what made you invest in the relationship. So that, like the end of the show, just like the Penguin, when she goes full villain, like she is going to go full villain, there's still a little bit left over because of their relationship that makes you want to see her again. That makes you want to see where they're going again. And I love the way they built to that organically throughout the show. Did every episode hold together as strongly as the best of their episodes? No, I don't think so. But the overall effect of the show, I thought, was fantastic. And so it was a nice surprise. When Marvel was a bit shaky, it was a nice surprise for them to come out with something this strong.
I respected the show for knowing what it wanted to be and staying what it wanted to be from the beginning. And I've talked about this and I stand by it. The show aimed at a particular audience. It doesn't mean that other audiences can't enjoy it. It means that they knew who they were aiming at. And they said, as long as we hit the people we're aiming at, that's what we're approaching. That's what we're trying to get. And we think those people are going to enjoy it. And then we're going to make a good show that people that maybe didn't think that this show was for them are also going to enjoy it. And that is where I landed. I said, I don't think this is targeted to me, but I'm enjoying what I'm watching. I like the chemistry. I liked, as Dan said, I thought very well that it was a structured show from start to finish. It's probably a show that you can put on during the holidays and Halloween, the same particular way that they did it for Werewolf by Night or whatever, and like that type of stuff. And I think that's a very smart way that Marvel approached it this time around. And when you have star power like Catherine Hahn and you utilize that, I think they utilized their talent very well. And it was a pleasant surprise, and they didn't overspend, because I think that would have been a big topic of conversation if this show would have cost, $200 million like the rest of their shows. Then it's like, oh, then we're having a different conversation about this show. We're not saying it was a success anymore, because that brings the barometer down a little bit. You can say, okay, look, this is what we spent, and this is what we need for people to watch, and that's what happened, and everybody was happy. So it made sense that they did it this way.
And again, exploring the human backstory of the villain with her relationship with her mother, rejected by her coven, you're like, okay, I might understand why she's doing the things that she's doing. I think a lot of us gravitate to those stories because all of us have those stories of experiencing things like that in our lives. And so there's a universality that I think was effective in the show with her journey as well.
Yeah.
And they dropped that in the next to last episode, whereas what every other show would have done that in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
They did it in the next to last episode so that you understood the whole show before that. And then the last episode was basically like a epilogue, like a tag. That I like that structure a lot.
Yeah, me too. All right, John, we'll jump to movies for you here. And this is one that I think, I don't know if Dan saw it. I didn't see it, but I know I heard you talk about it.
Oh, yeah. This is a late one for me. I saw
Heretic.
it like, sorry, say that again?
Heretic, just for the audio listeners.
Yeah, Heretic. Yes, this is a late one for me because, like Dana, catching up on the movies, I had to watch it on the app, and I was engrossed in this film. And I'd heard and saw some reviews of people that weren't 100% on board with this movie. So I went in going like, okay, let's see if I feel the same way. But I was just absolutely on board with this from the beginning. I like the exploration of religion. I'm someone who was Catholic, and I like anything that challenges religion because I like to explore it. It deepens my faith. It strengthens my faith when I question it. And so having someone come along in this way like Hugh Grant does, and he's incredible in the film, going toe to toe with these two young women and having conversations about religion and what it means and what the philosophy is, and having them push back and having them question things and fight back and figure out the whole situation. And then the twists and turns at the end with what happens to both of them with Hugh Grant, I thought was fascinating and surprising. The person that I thought that was not going to survive did survive, and the person I thought that was going to survive didn't survive. And I thought all of that worked out so well. So this was incredible. This was very well written, well directed, and certainly well acted. I don't know why no one's talking about Hugh Grant for this Oscar nomination. It's kind of surprising to me a little bit.
Yeah, I was happy. I think Critics' Choice nominated him.
Yes, we did. Yeah,
I was very happy. I went and saw this on opening weekend. I was super excited for this. What I loved is that it's a movie that's about this debate between these characters, and without feeling sort of like wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Whichever side of the debate as a viewer you agreed with, there's stuff in the movie that you could say, see, I was right.
Yeah.
And again, it does. I don't think the movie challenges you as a viewer. I think that it's characters challenging each other.
Yes.
And the movie is sort of this, observer. And I like that they kind of leave it not frustratingly open, but enough to where if you think that this stuff was happening, then there's stuff to suggest that. If you don't think that it was, then there's stuff to suggest that. And yeah, Hugh Grant he's so good in this movie. He's so good. And he's got pages of dialogue. Yeah. I mean, he has to carry so much of this movie completely, himself. And he's really good. And yeah, there was like 3 or 4 times where I'm like, oh yeah, I know what's going on. And I did not know what was going on. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
It is in my top 3 of the ones that I'm going to be like. I have Brutalist, I have that one, and then there's one other one. What was it? Shoot, I can't remember the name of it off the top. But I have 3 that are listed that I'm going to watch, and that's one of them. So I will be checking it out. Before we move on, I got to tell you guys that each and every show we are blessed to have sponsors that keep us going. You guys are getting them. We keep on getting more of them because you guys are enjoying what we're giving you here. So let me tell you about 2 wonderful sponsors right now. Here you go. And let's talk about it. I've talked to you guys before in the past about Robinhood. You guys know, you've heard me discuss. Well, I'm going to discuss with you once again. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash-in non-retirement accounts. It's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Now, to receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year. From First match must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. You got to go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rates claim is based on the data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. So thank you to Robinhood here for joining us on the show. Very happy to have them back. And I also want to tell you guys, as we we have a brand new sponsor that I'm so excited to discuss with you guys about, because I had gotten the product last week. And I was like, oh God, when can I talk to you guys about this? Well, the time is now. The time is now, and that is Prolon. If you guys aren't aware already, well, I'm going to make you aware now. Prolon is absolutely great. They have this January fasting challenge, which is pretty wonderful. If you're starting the year with a fast, it feels a little daunting. I know. You're not alone. There's an entire community of individuals wanting to make a meaningful difference in their health, just like you. And this is what makes group fasting so powerful and why I am joining in on Prolon's January Fasting Challenge. It is a coach-led program to set you up for fasting success. Wanted to try to do something like this, and now I figured out a way to do it. Prolon's fasting mimicking diet is revolutionary. It's a plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe they're fasting. Researched and developed for decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by leading U.S. medical centers, Prolon helps promote healthy blood sugar, enhanced skin appearance, fat loss, and improved energy and focus. It all starts with their 5-day program. Snacks, soups, beverages designed to keep your body in a fasting state. No guesswork or planning required, which is a relief after a busy holiday. You got to stay motivated during the challenge with guidance from top longevity and nutrition coaches, providing the tools you need to successfully complete your fast. I cannot tell you, when they told me about this, this is something I always wanted to try, and I'm so pumped to finally get this going. So if you're ready to make 2025 your healthiest year yet, order your Prolon 5-day kit at prolonlife.com/bigthing. Join in on their fasting challenge today. New groups start every Sunday in January. Plus, Prolon is offering the Big Thing listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program for your post-holiday glow-up when you go to prolonlife.com/bigthing. Once again, prolonlife.com/bigthing. Thank you to both Prolon and, of course, Robinhood. Appreciate it. They are in the description. Really appreciate it, and appreciate you guys supporting the show. All right, so I will continue us going here. I'm going to go with this one. This was a movie that I've been excited to see for a bit. Sorry, I liked Northman a lot. I really did. I think that was the first one to me. Northman was the one, because Robert Eggers, everybody loved The Witch, and then I didn't see The Lighthouse, but everybody loved The Witch. I didn't love it as much as everyone else, but I loved The Northman, and I was starting to really get on board with, like, oh, I get this Robert Eggers guy. And then when they heard he's doing Nosferatu and essentially the Bram Stoker story, I'm like, let me see. And you put Bill Skarsgård in there as the Count. I'm like, okay. Didn't know what to make of Lily Rose Depp. Thought she was fantastic. I thought she really made this work, because the Francis Ford Coppola version of this story was a little more sexy. This is not supposed to be sexy. This is a straight on horror movie, but it's also you still have that obsession from the Count with this woman in general, and then you can, and who doesn't like Keanu Reeves? But that role was not really meant for him, but it is meant for Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult is just so good in this movie. The images, the ideas, it's so, I said this in my review of it, that the thing with Nosferatu is that even though you know it's a story that's been told so many different times, Robert Eggers shoots it in a way that you almost believe that it's an original movie. Because he just is so damn creative in the way that he structures his shots, from the way that the music is placed in it, the Willem Dafoe interpretation of essentially Van Helsing. It was great. It was a great movie. Everything about it just it was such a nice. I don't want to say it was a pleasant surprise, because I was looking forward to it. I was anticipating it from the second it was announced, but. John, you're on board with this one too, right?
It's in my top 3 of the year. Yeah, I loved this movie. Look, this is the first film that ever scared me as a kid. The original Murrell one, 7 years old, under a coffee table, having that thing come out of the dark in sepia tone, scare the hell out of me. And then I doing as a Werner Herzog completist. This is one I saw years ago, his version of it that I thought with Klaus Kinski, I thought was great. So when they said Eggers was going to do this, because I am a fan of The Northman and Lighthouse, I was like, what is he going to do with this? And he did not disappoint. I was absolutely blown away by how he brought this story to life in a way that felt dangerous and poignant and unsettling and horrific, but also making you connect with Lily Rose Depp's character, and her performance here is a breakout performance, in my opinion. You got to start looking at her for some more serious roles. You got to start looking at her a little bit more seriously as an actress. And so I was blown away by that and what she was able to do and bring to life, so that by the end, you really feel her decision. And you're right, Nicholas Hoult is great as well. I thought the way he handled everything in the progression and the stress, once again, a guy who is poor, trying to prove himself, essentially manipulated at times by the haves, how he's going to navigate all of that with Aaron Taylor Johnson, Emma Corrin, really good as well. And then I thought Skarsgård, I know some people have issues with the mustache. I'm like, oh my, what a petty thing to have an issue with. And I liked it. I liked the look. I liked the energy. And people are like, oh, he moves too slow. He has been around for centuries, and he moves fast when he needs to move fast. Yoda moves about 1 mile an hour until he has to move. And when he does, it's quick. So to me, those are the things that I really enjoyed about it. And the cinematography, the color palette, all of it just works so well. And so I've seen it 3 times now, and I will probably see it a few more times. And I'm not the biggest horror guy, as people know, but this one works for me on so many levels.
Yeah. Dan, was this in your top 10?
It's my number 3 of the year.
So if I it was my number 3 also.
And I didn't love The Witch. I've actually been very split on a lot of Eggers stuff. I've respected all of the stuff that he's made, but a lot of it's kind of left me a little cold or kind of divided, or, I'm not sure how I feel about that. This movie hit all the right buttons for me. It felt like, I think in my review, I said it reminded me of what I thought about Oppenheimer, which was, I felt like that movie was the culmination of everything Christopher Nolan made to that point. This to me felt like the culmination of everything Robert Eggers had done, and it all worked for me. That's Lily Rose Depp should be in the conversation for Best Actress.
Yes,
it is. I don't know if it's because the movie came out late. I don't know if it's because, she's got the Depp, the name. I don't know if it's because of all the HBO show. I don't know what it is, why she's not in conversation, but she should be, because she is so good in this movie. And I think people are going to look back on it in 5 years and say, why was she not in the conversation? Why was she not even in contention? Because she was great. I loved it. I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, and also considering that she wasn't even, it was supposed to be Anya Taylor-Joy who was supposed to be the lead role, and then she came in to do this and stepped in and just crushed it. So
I think she did a better job than Anya. No offense, Anya. I just don't think she would have gone where Lily went.
She really did. She really did go to places. But it's funny that all 3 of us put it in as our number 3. It's hilarious. All right, Dan. So this is one that I know, and I'm pretty sure it's in both you and Rocha's top 10. It made my honorable mention, but let me bring it up here. And we're of course talking about The Substance.
Ooh. It was not just in my top 10. It was my number 1 movie.
Wow.
Because there's always really good movies that come out every year. And so when you're like, when you're just like, what's going to be that number 1? The Substance was the movie that I saw, that I thought about more than any other movie, that I felt like used every tool that a director has: writing, acting, sound, cinematography, tone. This movie is nutty. And I said it when I reviewed it. If you tell people you're going to tell some, if you like it, you're going to tell somebody to see it, and they're going to come back to you and they're going to say, what the hell were you saying? Why the hell did you tell me to watch that movie? That's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I get it. But at the same time, I thought it was, I love bold filmmaking, and not bold just for the sake of being bold, like bold as in having a clear, confident direction, knowing what you want to say, knowing what your goal is. And just my jaw dropped watching this movie, because I could not believe that they were pushing it this far, and that it was working, because there's a point where it can be too much.
Yeah.
And this movie is, but in the right ways. So yeah, it was my number one of the year.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because everything you say, I understand why you say it. I do. It's funny how when you say, that they could go too far, but to you they didn't, right? To me,
they did,
but
they went too far in a way that worked. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's more so, like, for me, the first 2 acts of this movie, genius. It was brilliant. I was so locked in. I was mesmerized by it. I felt, and I've said it before, I felt like I was watching Twilight Zone or a episode of was it Black Mirror or something along those lines. Something that just so, and the performances from both Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore, obviously, who are just in sync, on purpose, doing the things that they were going to do, and it's just this Dennis Quaid with this creepy over the top fingers. Yeah, like, and I'm like, I am in. And almost in the same way that I was in and locked in for, what was it, Poor Things last year. But that movie locked me in from start to finish. The end lost me in this movie. And it lost me from the kind of over the top. It's so graphic that, and it's supposed to be. I understood. It's kind of the message of the whole film of what they're trying to do with it. But I was like, it was so clever, and it had me. It was too much for me at the end, but I understand the love for it. I really do. It was too much for me. But John, you're in top 10 mode.
Oh yeah, this is absolutely. This is my number 2. Wow. And I watched it again last night in preparation for our conversation, because there's just some films you watch as cinephiles that you just go, this is something new. This is something different. The way Coralie Farge directs this film, I hope I'm saying her name right, the way she directs this film, the way she uses non-dialogue, the way she uses silences, the way she evokes Kubrick all throughout this movie, The Shining all throughout this movie, and the exploration here of how we can be our own worst enemy. Yes, there are terrible people around us all the time who are trying to dismiss us for our age or our looks or whatever it may be, but if you give into it, this is what happens to you. In a desperate pursuit of reclaiming something you had before, you go deep into this wormhole and make these exchanges with yourself as you lose more and more of yourself. The symbolism is so great, so that when the final 20 minutes happen, I'm actually, I love the final 20. I'm with Dan. It goes too far in the right way, because that can happen to you. Whatever it is that you're obsessed with or addicted to, if you don't deal with it, if you don't come to terms with it, this is the grotesque thing that could happen to you by the end from the inside out. And I thought that was a stunning and gutsy way to end the movie. It did not want to leave you with the thoughts of like, okay, wow, that was really cool. I should look at myself a little bit. It was like, no, look at what could happen to you. Yeah. Do you understand what I am saying? And sometimes we need films to grab us by the back of our heads and shove us into the mirror. And I think that ending absolutely did it. So yeah, Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and again, no one is talking about Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid did an incredible job.
You think Dennis Quaid's politics is keeping him out of the race?
It might very well be. I don't know. And if it is, that's terrible, because that should have nothing to do with his performance. And I thought he was excellent here. And so I've seen some reviewers go, well, I didn't like it because he didn't get a comeuppance. He's not supposed to get a comeuppance. That's the point of the movie. So I think that's an element to it that I enjoyed.
I think he's out of it because A, it's a small role. I think some people think it's too small. And B, much like the rest of the movie, he is so over the top.
Yeah,
I think that people are saying that he's, I think it's too different. I don't know. Politics may have something to do with it. I just think it's A, not big enough, and B, too out there.
I don't know. I've met producers like this, so I don't know how over the top it actually is.
Right. I mean, and smaller roles. I mean, look at Anne Hathaway. I always bring up Anne Hathaway. She sings one song,
but she has that scene. But she's got he doesn't have a scene. He doesn't have that Oscar scene. He just pops in and out and is insane for like 2 minutes at a time every 15 minutes.
50. Oh.
Well, John, this is one that you and I talked about briefly yesterday, and I forgot it. It probably would have been in my top 10, but I completely forgot it when talking about it. Yeah, no, and that is Kingdom Planet of the Apes. So go ahead, and it was on your list that you submitted today. So speak on it, please.
Yeah, I mean, come on, this I didn't know what to expect from this, and Jeff and I had heard some things behind the scenes about the movie, and but towards the tail end, it sounded like it was testing well, but then there were reports that it wasn't testing well initially. Whatever they did to fix it or bring the final edit in, I think they utterly nailed this thing. Just again, an exploration of what happens when you're a peaceful civilization and you get taken by people who want to impose their will on you and take your land and take your area, destroy the people you love. What you do, it becomes a good old-fashioned revenge film, but then explores this idea of how you have to question the people who tell you the things that tell you about the history of where they came from and how they achieved their success. Because as we say all the time, right, that famous phrase, to the victor go the spoils, and they get to determine history is written by the winners. And you see that clearly in how that's all laid out. And you forget and you use the people who establish yourself, like Caesar, they manipulate his words to make it work for their selfish narrative. So he fights through all of that, reconnects with a human being, has great conversations, and we find out that one of the humans betrayed the human. So there's even more of that, all of that coming through. And then we lead to this fantastic action finale that I thought totally delivered a great finale for the movie. So overall, very surprised by what Wes did here, and I want to see more from him down the road in numerous franchises, by the way.
This is what this movie did very well, and it's one of those things, like you bring up like Star Wars, which has not been able to do this, or is at least scared to do this. They feel like, how can we disconnect from the Star Wars or the Skywalker saga and make people care? Right? Well, Wes Ball said everybody just cares about Caesar. Well, we got to make him care about other people. We can still relate and talk about Caesar, but he's not around. It's been years. His legacy, what does it mean overall? But we got to introduce new characters. We got to introduce new people, and we're going to make you care about them. And they did that and more. They really did make you give a crap about what's going on inside of it, and still being true to what the original franchise was all about, back to the 1968. All right, 1968 version.
The first one,
yeah, and they're going to eventually play. And I think you keep making these movies. We're getting closer and closer to that, because they even teased that in the original, the James Franco one. They see the ship going off, and was it the Icarus? I think it was what it is, whatever it is. So I love the direction of where they're going with it. I love being in this world. I love I agree with you, John. I think Wes Ball did a great job in this. I think he's an underrated director. I know that the movie didn't do like gangbusters, but it did. Dan, as the box office guy, for the time of when this was the first movie that, because all these other movies like Furiosa and these other films were missing. Apes did decent enough to go, okay, maybe the summer has some hopes.
It did decent. Yeah, it did decent enough. I liked it. I didn't. My problem with it, there's a couple things. Number one, just the first three were so good that when you come back and say you're going to do more, I think that it didn't do enough for me to separate itself, to kind of justify coming back after really nailing what I thought was a great trilogy. And then the story, without giving too much away, I felt like the story went, by the end of the movie, I thought we were going backwards a little bit with the story. I wanted to see the advancement of this society and the civilization, and I felt like the story was dragging us back to territory where we already had been. So those were my two major things. Not that it was a bad movie at all. I enjoyed it, but it never quite hit the heights of the previous ones for me.
Totally fair.
Especially 2 and 3.
Totally fair. So I think that moving to the next one, so basically what we're going to do is we'll do, whether it's TV, movies, or TV or movies for the next, we'll at least get one more, and then we're going to get to the questions here. And then if there's other ones, guys, that we didn't get to that you want to talk about, then throw them into your questions. And if there's certain ones that we missed that you want to hear us talk about, put them in your questions. We currently stand at 40 questions. Dan's playing the game for the first time here. Dan, basically, we have co-hosts on every day and trying to see the winner, whoever gets the most questions throughout the week. John currently sits at 105. There were 105 questions yesterday, and we're at 40 today, so not too bad.
This sounds like the Schmodown. Are you tricking me into the Schmodown again?
You win a title at the very end. I'm going to send you the belt.
There's a belt. Yeah.
Yeah, there is the belt and everything. Okay. So the one that I want to talk about that I have to talk about, you guys talked about in your top 3, and one of the ones that was, I didn't have substance in there, but I did have this one, and that is a unknown. Now, I like James Mangold a lot. I don't necessarily think he had full creative control over Indiana Jones, the last one. At least that's what I'm telling myself. But this one he did very well with this movie. And yes, it is his directing style that helps the movie. It tells a story that I heard some people that were disappointed that it didn't really dive deep into the overall deal of Bob Dylan. And as you guys talked about with The Substance, it's not really the point. The point is this first year and the idea that the transition between being what you're kind of shaped to be and what everyone thinks you're going to be and becoming your own person. And that's ultimately what Bob did with becoming such an icon inside of this and making folk cool, and then saying, well, no, I kind of want to do my own thing here. And that's exactly what he did. And as I mentioned in my review, in my anticipated list, my best of rather, my uncle is a hardcore Bob Dylan fan, and it was cool to take him with me because he was going, oh, well, that actually happened in London. It didn't happen there, but I understand why they put it in there, and they're mixing and matching. But the other thing that I said that I want to reiterate here is that I think everybody knows that Timothée Chalamet is a good actor. Everybody knows that. I think this kid is a next level performer. I think he is I think he's going to be one of the all-time greats if he continues on doing what he's doing here, because he can do something like a Dune 2. He can do something like Wonka. He can do something like Little Women. He can do these movies, and he's got this range at this young age, and it is not easy to do Bob Dylan without sounding like an impression of Bob Dylan. And that's talking like him, not even including singing like him. He was engaging all the way through. I like how they went on the relationship of Joan Baez. I loved this movie. I thought it was just, I thought it was pretty great. Dan, I haven't heard your take on this one. What do you say about this?
I enjoyed it. It wasn't in my top 10, but I liked it. I particularly liked the conflict with him and Pete Seeger and Ed Norton's character. And the thing I said about Timothée Chalamet is I compared him to DiCaprio.
Yeah.
In that he's young, he's a breakout, he's the kind of guy who's he's got the tabloid side, and you see him with the whatever else. And hey, listen, he's an eccentric guy, And I think that there's so many people that are sort of poised to pounce when he fails.
Yeah.
The problem is he's so damn good,
right?
And he doesn't. I can't think of a movie where he has not delivered 1000% of what's required of him. And there are so many different roles. He's not just taking the same kind of role over and over. He's so good. I think he is sort of like the modern day equivalent of DiCaprio. And I think that he's poised to have that same sort of career because he's just a very, very good actor, no matter what else you may think of him, off screen. He's very good at what he does. He was great as Dylan. And, and the movie I enjoyed. I mean, the music was great. The fact that he played and sang everything was incredible. Yeah, no, for me, he was a big takeaway for me, and just how good he was in the role. The movie I enjoyed overall, but yeah, he was fantastic.
Where did this land in your top 10, John? Did it?
I think this is 5.
Okay.
From what I remember. Yeah, look, I'm the outlaw. I love biopics. So what can I tell you? And I thought Mango did a great job with this. As someone who is probably not as deep as your uncle of a Dylan head, I am still a Dylan head. So I knew what we were leading to, which is that controversial moment when he came out and played with the electric piano and the electric guitar, and really kind of messed up the whole folk scene there in the mid 60s. So I knew where we were going. So I liked the way they built to it. But you're right, Chalamet, as Adam Sandler might say, it was so good in this movie. And again, can't reiterate enough what you guys have already stated. I mean, people forget about The King. If you haven't seen him in The King, watch a gutsy, bold performance from this guy, cock-strong performance, dare I say, from Chalamet in that film. So there's so much about him He fits within whatever film you're making, and he brings the characters to life. What he did for Dylan here, and I went in not thinking he was going to be able to get Dylan or really grab the essence of Dylan fully. He does it. He does it so much. And you see the frustration of the people around him, and you understand the frustration of the people around him because he's not a guy who tells you much or gives you much. So you understand why some people have spoken about how frustrated they've been with him in real life, historically, knowing him back at that time. But you also see that he's an artist who's gifted. It's kind of like a young Shakespeare. He has been given this gift. He has to get it out. He makes the efforts to find the avenues to get it out. And he goes through his life as he has to go through his life in service of the music, in service of changing things, in service of calling out establishment stuff, even within the folk community, which is supposed to be this, kumbaya place. He comes and tries to expose how limited it can be. So there's a lot of commentary that Mangold is sliding into this movie amidst the biopic aspect of it all that I think works well. Elle Fanning is great, and Monica Barbaro, both of them are fantastic. My only criticism of the movie is I wanted more with them in their relationship to Dylan. I wanted more with them in the conversations and what have you. So those are the things that bothered me a little bit about the movie. But I thought Ed Norton did a great job.
He was great.
Right?
He was great.
They're back and forth here. You feel that pain at the end when he's like watching him move away from him and wanting to take an axe to the system, and you're just like, wow, even he broke in relation to Bob. And so I thought that was stellar in how they built that up.
Also showed there wasn't a lot of great security in the late 60s. We just walk right into people's hotel rooms pretty easily. Yeah. All right. So there's two one from Dan here, one from Rocha, then we'll go to the questions. All right, Dan, this is one that I just recently saw, and I'm pretty sure it's on your list here. Let me just bring it up. This is one that I had heard a lot about, and I finally got a chance to see it last month, and that is Anora.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was on my top 10 list. It's sort of the curse of, as I'm doing awards coverage, it was cursed with being the front runner early, which means that over time people are like, oh, well, yeah, I know about that one, but what about this one? And I worry that it might kind of get lost in the shuffle. That's another movie that, Sean Baker, I liked his previous films, but this one I connected to a little bit more even than the other ones I've seen, because he's so good at sort of giving you the fantasy of something. This is the idealized version, and then here's the underneath. Like almost every one of his movies is about that in some way. And this movie had me. It did. I thought it was going the more conventional way, and then it went completely away from that. And I liked how it did it, because there's a transition point in the movie where it's a scene that you think is only going to be a few minutes long, and it goes on for like 20 minutes. And then the movie just goes from there, and you slowly realize that everything you've been seeing before, you're kind of in her shoes. You're kind of living in her head. This is the idealization. This is the fantasy. This is what you think you want. And then this is the reality of that. And everything is born out of that. And there's characters that are background characters that slowly become important. And then some people that you think are crucial that turn out to be completely unimportant. It's funny. I laughed more at a couple of the jokes in this movie than any other movie. Mikey Madison is great. I think that she, like I said, she's been the front runner for Best Actress for so long that people are kind of looking around going like, I don't know what else you got. That should not undercut the fact that she was so great in the movie. And I mean, this is, I don't know. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. This movie, there was a lot of hype behind it, as you said, Dan. And I saw it late and I checked it out. And my initial thought I was watching, like, this is fun, but it's essentially just the version of Pretty Woman that they were going to make before it turned into Pretty Woman. I was like, I'm like, oh, so they just repurposed the script. And then the second that I said that, they change it and they switch it around, and it is hilarious. It's hilarious. It's such, like, the end of the movie obviously is not, as I mentioned. And what's so silly is there's some dopey moron on Twitter, as they seem to flock to, is like, if you thought this movie was funny, then you didn't understand the movie. And I was like, well, then why do they put in the trailer hilarious?
It's 100%, and it's completely intended to be funny. It's 100% at points intended to be funny.
Right. So it's hilarious. The whole point, the majority, like the second, like I would say from The second the dude show up looking for the kid, up until the very end, is hilarious.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. From the father cracking up in the office, from like the bumbling fools that are happening, for the relationship in general that they have. It's a really solid movie. It was in my top 10, and rightfully so, because that, to me, as you guys are talking about like different and ballsy filmmaking and substance, this to me is the kind of ballsy filmmaking that I like, because it's also it's really clever, it's super funny, she's charming. So yeah, I dug it. John, you this is on your list also?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep mine in sync. I know we're running out of time. So yeah, I would just say that, the gift of a great filmmaker is being able to give you 2 movies in one. And Sean Baker absolutely does it. When the turn happens so quick, and everything you thought you were holding on to, as you said, Dan, gets stripped away from you, and you get exposed as if you were going, oh my God, I let myself buy into this. I was cheering for her against these other girls. She's going to show them. She's going to stand out. This relationship is going to work. I'm going to forget that they just met a week ago. I'm going to leave all that behind. I want to buy into the premise. And then when the turn happens, it becomes a hilariously truthful film. I think the comedy is not only from the lines, but the human aspect of this caper film. It becomes a caper film where they're trying to find Yuri at all these different places. And meanwhile, her and Igor, the guy played by Yuri Borisov, their relationship, that's the one that has the arc in the movie. It surprises you, so that by the end, and I saw some people complain about the ending and the decision she makes. Stop seeing movies through your prism. Get out of your own head and what you would do and how you would act, and focus on what this character that's been presented to you would act. And to her, that conveys connection. What she does at the end is she gives of herself honestly, as opposed to being paid to give of herself. And so there's a difference. And you have to understand where this character comes from and what she's endured and what she's overcome. And so to me, that's what I thought was great about the film. There was an honesty in all of these characters within the comedy and within the drama. And especially on the plane. Oh my God, the stuff on the plane when they're annulling the marriage. That is some great writing and great acting from a lot of actors that none of us had ever seen before, I'm sure.
It's really solid.
I've never wanted to jump through a screen and just slap a character so much. I'm just like, the way you made me just hate them. Hate them. It's so good.
So good. All right. So
I've been probably tweeted the thing about it's not a comedy.
Oh, it's the worst. It wasn't. We're gonna end, John, with a television show.
Okay.
And I think rightfully so.
Oh my God. What can I tell you that the awards haven't already told you, including recently at the Golden Globes? This is a show that a lot of people didn't even have on their radar. We're like, what a samurai show, Shogun. James Clavell, Richard Chamberlain from they're redoing that. Why are they doing that? And then this thing comes out and absolutely blows everybody away. This is on par, as we said earlier with The Penguin, with anything from HBO. I mean, FX really goes next level with this particular offering. And the way I'm a huge samurai guy. I love Japanese movies with samurai stuff. So for me, I went in with a real critical eye, wondering if they were going to actually honor this and get it right, or play for a little too much of the American audiences. And I thought they 100% nailed it. They honored the culture. They honored the time period. The costumes were incredible. The settings were fantastic. Anna Sawai, what a standout here. Cosmo Jarvis was good too. Tatsuya Nakata, all of the actors throughout Hiroyuki Sanada, all of the actors throughout really brought their talent, the hammer of believability, and the progression of these relationships were really well done. Even the Nestor Carbonell, even the ensemble characters getting their moments to stand out and have some fun with these characters, fleshed out the world so much so that by the end you felt the sympathy of everything that was going on, but you also understood that they had to make these brutal decisions within the construct of the government they have set up there. So all of it worked so well, was incredibly effective.
I must find my ship.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
This is a once in a lifetime kind of show.
Yeah.
It makes me nervous that they're going to do a second season. I'm glad that they are, but it makes me nervous.
There's no source material.
Yeah. It just makes me nervous. Because this is there's just sometimes that things are put together and you're like, wow, this was supposed to be shot this way. This line was supposed to be said this way, and all these actors are doing it. The director is doing it. The writers are doing it. The composers are doing it. Everything about it. And you talk about flipping something on its head. You're like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to feel about this person. Oh, this person's a real a-hole. And the way that they play it, because I didn't know the original. I hadn't watched it. I didn't know anything going into it. I had both Steph and Rocha telling me all the time to watch it. It became almost like a joke that I hadn't seen it. And I finally, when I did, I watched it over the course of like 2.5 days. That's what I meant. Like there's some shows, if I start, like True Detective, I'll eventually want to get back to it. But it was months ago and I started it, and who knows if I'll get back to it. Skeleton Crew, I watched 2 episodes. I don't know if I'll ever watch it ever again. This is something I turned on and I couldn't turn it off. Dan, did you see any of this yet?
It was not on my radar. I caught it near the end of the cycle. Okay. It may have even been over, honestly, by the time I watched it. From people on the channel, just like, hey, have you seen Shogun? Have you seen Shogun? Have you watched Shogun? I enjoyed it. I thought I love that Hiroyuki Sanada and Anna Sawai and the cast all were getting so much recognition. I was so confused why Cosmo Jarvis was never seemed to be included. With not that he was any better, I would say, than anyone else in the cast, but it never seemed like he got the nominations, etc. Because I thought that he was as key to, structure and the supporting the show from his end, as everyone else was. But awards are funny things, I guess. I really enjoyed it. I did, and I did not know the source material. I didn't know. I'd never seen the previous adaptations, and it was really, really well done. I'm also nervous that they're doing a season 2 because it was just so much has been it wrapped up so well. It's like, okay.
Is it just like, hey, this did really well for us. Can we do another season, please?
Right. It's
which I understand, but you can run into some problems. Anyway, so look, that is a lot of shows and TV that there are tons that are on all 3 of our lists that we didn't get a chance to talk to, but maybe inside of your questions, some of those will pop up. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire through these questions. We're going to get to them. We're going to answer them, and maybe we'll discuss some of the ones that we missed on our list from before. So we'll start with the first question here, which comes in from Ewok. It says, my 3 favorite YouTubers are assembled. For each of you, who is your top pick for Bond? At first, I scoffed at the Josh O'Connor rumor, but now I'm on board. I still like the Aaron Taylor Johnson pick.
I think he could pull it off. I honestly, right now, I'm more concerned with them getting right with the franchise. It sounds like the Broccolis and Amazon are not seeing eye to eye. So, I'm kind of the unexpected guy. I never would have thought Daniel Craig, and I thought he was fantastic. So I think they just need to, whoever they pick, I think it needs to be somebody who there's a strong creative push that they know they can do it, and I think that's more concerning for me, is that they got to get there. They just have to get to a point where they can do it.
John?
Yeah, I like the Josh O'Connor choice. I didn't see it coming, and when it was said, I was like, I like that. So because that's a complete and utter change from Daniel Craig, and they like to alternate their Bonds, smooth to rough, smooth to rough, smooth to rough. I feel like Josh could have a smoother approach to it, and it's a challenging one because he's not aesthetically maybe the best looking guy with the ears and the nose a little bit, but what he did in Challengers, I'm like, if you have that kind of confidence with Bond, I'm on board.
Okay. Yeah. Next one. This is Jim 1. Hey, Dan, fellow James Bond fan here. Would love to see you do a ranking video of all the movies one day. Do you have a favorite era of Bond?
Oh man, it's tough because every Bond era has great films, and every Bond era has a few that are just not good. On balance, I would say pound for pound, movie for movie, I think that Connery's got more heavy hitters than I mean, because I love 2 of Craig's, but I don't like the other 2 as equally as I like the first 2. So I think Connery would probably be my favorite overall. But I like the Brosnan era more than most. Like there's like The World Is Not Enough I like more than most. Die Another Day is garbage though.
Jim 1 says, Dan, how's Spencer? We all loved seeing him and the gang each week on Screen Junkies with cuts to content there. We don't see him much these days.
Listen, I couldn't tell you how Spencer was when I worked there. Spencer is a beautiful enigma, a mystery of a man. I hear from him from time to time, and it sounds like he's great. But I also am sad that I don't get to see them as much because I could still watch and kind of feel like I was hanging out with my friends, and I'm sad to not be able to watch them as much as well.
Ewok. In 2026, we're going to get Avengers Doomsday, Spielberg's UFO film, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, The Odyssey, Spider-Man 4, and allegedly Dune Messiah. Which are you most excited for? John, why don't you start with that one?
Oof. Probably Avengers Doomsday. I'm the most excited for me overall. Because is it going to work or is it going to fall flat on its face? So I have to see.
Yeah, the answer for me is it depends on what happens in the next 6 months, but it could be Spielberg's UFO film.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go after Oppenheimer. I'm going to go with The Odyssey. I got to see what Nolan's going to do with that.
That's a good one. Hank Pym, my top 10, 10-1, Y2K, The Substance, Romulus, Civil War, Cuckoo, Apes, Heretic, Furiosa, Wild Robot, and number 1, Dune 2. Most underrated is Strange Darling. Yeah, it's funny. Dune 2 was my number 1 of the year.
Yeah,
we didn't talk about it on the thing, but I figured we would discuss it here too. And Civil War John had in his thing, Romulus John had in his thing, Substance we discussed. So yeah, there's a lot of great ones. Wild Robot's another one that was on my list.
That was close for mine. Yeah, that was an honorable mention for me. I like that movie a lot.
It's a really good one. Okay.
How does Y2K sneak on there, bro?
I don't know.
That was I wasn't gonna say anything. That's an interesting choice, but hey, everybody has their own.
It's fair. It's totally fair.
Yeah. Mustafa Agin. The 4th and final Conjuring movie is going to release this year. Does it stir anywhere on your anticipated list? Happy New Year from Down Under. Is James Wan directing it?
I'm not sure. I don't know. It's the guy. It's the director that's done like the last 2 or 3. He's his name is escaping me, but
Michael Chavez. Michael Chavez.
Well, yeah.
The answer I liked 1 and 2, and that was James Wan.
I'm also not, as I said in my preview for 2025, putting the name last or final in your movie does not convince me that it's actually the last or final of anything. So, yeah, I've liked the previous Conjuring films, but that whole franchise is sort of worn down a bit for me.
Yeah, John. Do you have any interest in?
No, I'm not a Conjuring person, so I'm good.
I really liked the first 2. It got franchised. Jim 1, glad to have grown up in the 90s when movies like The Firm and Something About Mary were big events in theaters. Today's they would go directly to streaming. I mean, most likely, what was the last comedy that came out was like a big event comedy?
Bridesmaids, maybe 2001.
I mean, that was 15 years ago.
I mean, it's weird because everything's a hybrid. Because I think you could say Deadpool and Wolverine would have but it's also a comic book film. I think it's that everything can't be just one thing anymore. The Firm would definitely have been a 6-episode streaming series on Peacock. No question. Without Tom Cruise.
Yeah, well, no. So my wife and I were watching like some romantic comedies from like the 80s and the 90s the other day, and we're like, there's no world where a movie like this, which was a big, huge event when it came out for the weekend, it would be on Netflix.
Yeah.
Ian Davis, Dan, Rocha on the same show. What a rivalry! Legendary episode. Dan, what is your most anticipated 2025 movie? Would it be possible to find a movie trivia question real quick to ask these two? The world needs it. No, I can't. PTSD, man. I can't do it.
Leave it where it is.
Yeah, I can't.
Leave it where it is.
Yeah, I can't do that, but I can ask them both their most anticipated of the year.
I was exhausted just doing the intro.
Put me on the spot. Most anticipated 20.
Your number one, the one that you got to go in and you got to see it. Like if
Superman, it's not even a question.
I think so. For me too.
Yeah, I mean that'd be up there. I'd have to because I did a whole thing. My head's swimming with them because I did a whole movie. I previewed 70 whatever. But Superman, if it's not number one, it's close. Just because I got to see what so much is riding on it, and I love Superman.
Superman for me is number one. Haskell 420, what's up, fellas? And welcome back, Dan. I'm sick as hell, so I'm sending this now. Mentioned how a couple of movies may have gone to streaming in the 90s. Where did he go? He gave a 1 out of 2.
Cliffhanger.
So, yeah, there it is. So he says, If streaming was around them, what good to great films do you think may have gone straight to streaming and probably buried because they didn't hit theaters? It's so hard to say because, look, some of the things buried is another conversation because there are certain movies. I guess the opposite question could also be asked: what movies that were so small back in the day that didn't really reach the right amount of people because they didn't have enough marketing, they didn't have enough theaters to hit that could have benefited from being on streaming and reach that wide audience? So
That's
it's a hard
true.
question. It's a hard question.
I'll throw one out.
Yeah.
I think Dazed and Confused would have been a series to explore that whole year of them being in high school and whatever. So I think that would have probably been a series if you could have pulled it off.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like a big hit movie that may have just gone to streaming and you never heard of it. I think the previous commenters, right? There's Something About Mary I could see have in a different era have being going to Netflix original or HBO original. I think a lot of the comedies, things like
The Mask would have been a Netflix film.
The Mask, or What Women Want, with Helen Hunt and Mel Gibson, that kind of movie that would have been that would have gone to Netflix or what. It's like those kinds of movies that were big hits. I think it would have been so much harder. If it was different,
Mike Joyce, Nosferatu and Dune 2 were easily the most two well-made movies of 2024. What would you say is the third? Look, I think I agree with the guys that hard for me to not say that Substance wasn't a well-made movie. I mean, that's a very well-made movie. So I would probably say that one. And I still think the most gorgeous movie cinematography of the whole year was Conclave.
Yeah.
That was well-made is tough to quantify, but I think by default, I've got to say The Substance because it hits so much of the elements, I think, perfectly.
Yeah, I said Substance or Brutalist. I think both of those.
Brutalist, yeah.
And Levi R. says, favorite TV shows of 2024, I'd have to say Fallout, The Penguin, The Gentleman, and anything Taylor Sheridan does. Well, on John's list that we didn't get to, he had, I would think, all of Taylor Sheridan's shows.
Yeah, Landman and Lioness were on my list.
They were, and you also had Fallout on there, too.
Yes,
I enjoyed Fallout. Yeah, I like Fallout a lot.
I got to catch up on Gentleman. A lot of people say that's good. I might have to take a day to catch up on that.
So, John, at a Landman or Lioness, if I'm going to start one, which one do I start?
Oh, for you, I would start with Lioness.
Okay.
I think you would enjoy Lioness a lot. The Landman's much more of a slower role with Billy Bob, but I think Lioness has much more action you might enjoy in the military stuff as well.
Call me Landman.
Baby Reindeer, by the way, too. Shout out. Quick TV shout out.
People dug that one too. Ash Trefoil. I saw the movie Better Man yesterday with no expectations, and I was blown away. If he was more popular in America, it could win some big awards. Big recommend. Have you guys seen this one, and do you like it?
I haven't seen it yet. I've heard good things.
Okay.
I've also heard that they might be pulling back on the wide release a bit because it just did atrociously bad in limited release. But I've actually heard it's pretty good.
I think it was like 2,000 per
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Which is horrible. Yeah. It's on the app. I'm going to definitely. I am a Robbie Williams fan. I was in England in '98 when Millennium came out. So I got hooked into him at that point, and then Angels and then Rock DJ. So, but I hate the hate that's going around for him on TikTok and social media.
Is that really why?
This guy's not a big deal. He was never a big deal in America. He's nobody. And I'm like, what are you getting out of this? So,
but I mean, he was not a big deal in America, but he was massively popular around the world. That's factually true. This is why I'm not on social media.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Dan, I'm about to go your route, brother. I swear to God.
You've been saying that for 5 years.
This morning I was in bed doom scrolling, and Lindley looks over and she goes, "Do you even know what your face looks like right now?" And I was like, "Oh, honey, I gotta stop."
I'll tell you the best. Instagram. Instagram to me is the way to go. If you're gonna do this at all, Instagram to me, like especially if you are looking for stuff to like either be educated on or find some cool things for. I found a whole bunch of food recommendations on Instagram that I really liked through where I'm living. So it's like, that to me is actual beneficial social media. Twitter can suck my balls.
I'm long gone from Twitter.
Yeah. Armada. Interesting in 2025, we are getting Wolfman, 2 Frankenstein movies, The Bride, and what's GDT?
Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, okay. And a supposed vampire movie, Sinners. Sinners to me is the one. I'm going to see Wolfman next week. Yeah. I don't know. It's January, so I don't know how excited I am for it. Doesn't necessarily mean
Invisible Man was January, right? Well, I think, or
maybe.
February.
Yeah,
It was
right before.
Well, maybe it was later than that, but it was early in the year. It was good.
2020.
Yeah, it was good. But I want to see. I do want to see that Sinners movie. That's an April release.
Yeah, Wolfman got a screening last night in LA. A lot of positive reviews.
Oh, was it?
Critics that went to see it. So I'm excited to see what Lee did with that one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think I may get in the car and go see that one.
Yeah, it's next week, right?
That's my choice. If I want to see it early, I got to get in the car.
Well, I mean, the other one is Den of Thieves 2, which the screening is on Thursday, and the movie comes out on Thursday night. Vincent Zawada. A movie I want to shout out is the Korean film Exuma. I don't know that one. You guys know that?
I heard good things about it.
Okay.
Is it on Netflix or something? I don't know where that's.
I'm not sure. Corn Emperor. I like this episode, and subscribe to Dan and Rocha's channels. Please do. I linked both their channels in the description, so make sure you go and support both Dan and Rocha. They're both doing a lot of great things over on their channels, so both busy guys. Help them out. Corn Emperor. I can't be here for the majority of the show, so here's some support, and I hope this episode becomes the one to reach for months. Well, thank you so much, Corn.
Thank you very much.
Nerds Engaged, just gifting 5 more memberships to people. Thank you so much for that.
Wow.
Very, very kind of you. Thank you. Jonathan Charles, my 3 favorite YouTubers. Thank you for helping me survive COVID and the toughest stretch of my life. What you 3 do is so important. I really appreciate you. Love you guys. That is very nice, Jonathan. And that's why there are a lot of nice things that do happen. This is social media too, YouTube, and there are a lot of things that do come out that are positive, and that's one of them. So thank you for that very, very nice sentiment.
I'll say, as much as, and I appreciate that very much, but when we were both on the other side of the camera, and I can certainly say that being able to do this helped me survive COVID and the isolation and everything else, as much as you being able to watch. So it's a two-way street.
100%. Yeah. Okay. Sheev Palpatine. Excellent. He's in here. Hello, my long-time viewer. The first-time contributor here. Been following the schmo since TTKR review came out. My question is, what were your first theatrical experiences? Mine was T3 at the age of 6.
6?
That explains why you went to the dark side.
Yeah, the dark side, for real. I mean, the one that I can always talk about that my dad tells me about. It's not the first one I ever saw, but it's the first one that he couldn't believe. He was convinced, because all the movies he ever took me to, I'd run back and forth up and down the aisles, and I wouldn't sit still, and I was one of those asshole kids. But he said the first movie that he said, this kid's not going to watch this. And I sat down, my eyes were fixated on it, and I couldn't move my eyes, was Empire Strikes Back. So that's the first one that I at least remember through my dad's eyes.
I remember sitting in my grandmother's lap and watching An American Tale.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if that was the first movie I ever went to, but I remember that I went to the movie with her and saw that. That was 3. Yeah.
John, Bridge of River Kwai?
I think no. It was my mom taking me to Georges Méliès's Trip to the Moon when it came out, the debut. That one in 1890.
When it originally came out,
1893. There's black and white photos of it. No. The first one was Pinocchio. I remember my mom taking me to see a reissue of Pinocchio there cool. in Northern Virginia, 6 years old. Taking me by the hand. I just remember that whole experience and being like, wow, this is what movies can be, So I just remember that.
I'll tell you that the new Pinocchio was horrendous.
Not the Guillermo del Toro one.
No, the Zemeckis one?
Yes, the Zemeckis one.
I think that was on my worst list last year. Yeah.
Horrific.
Del Toro
2023.
One of the better animated quite a lot.
That was on my best list.
It was on my
on Criterion the other day. It's so good.
It's so good. G. Colby P. Challengers is the best tennis movie starring Spider-Man's girlfriend after Wimbledon, Dunst, and Battle of the Sexes Stone. There you go. That's a great comment.
Interesting point.
It's true.
Great point. Ryan, happy holidays. Love you guys. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much. Favorite movie of the year was River by Junta Yamaguchi. Groundhog Day time loop premise with an entire Japanese village. That sounds good.
I guess look that up.
Yeah, send that up. Favorite movie was River. I'm gonna watch that.
Please DM me these. I don't know these. I would love to catch up.
Put them in the comments also.
Oh
once the show goes.
Tell us where they are.
In the comments now. Okay. So the next one here. Thank you again, Ryan. First of all, very generous, and I really appreciate
thank you, Ryan.
Yeah. Ewok with so many players involved. What will be the fallout from this Baldoni-Lively feud? Baldoni's lost out claim came with clear receipts, and it seems like public sentiment is now shifting back to him. But this is what John and I said the other day.
What a surprise!
But this is what we said the other day, and have we learned nothing? It's like the same thing. Is that just you gotta wait? You gotta wait until everything is presented before you do anything. You gotta wait, because who knows? Maybe she's got some text also now, right? Maybe we said, everyone was like, oh well, she has a lawsuit and they fired him, and they just said, well, why? Maybe he's got. Let's hear his side, and now he's got his side. Let's hear her response. It's not over yet. Let it play.
Yeah, I did a video when the first thing got filed, when she filed, and they had and then the second filing happened while I was in LA. I was on vacation, so I read everything. I haven't covered it, but I mean, that's the thing especially with lawsuits. Unless your lawyer is terrible, every lawsuit is going to come with evidence in it that quote unquote exonerates your client and is a clear, I read it, and I read hers, and I found it very compelling, and there's a lot of stuff in there. I read his, and he certainly presents evidence that suggests a different side. It's all now in the middle. It's all now in the figuring it out part. It's both sides of a lawsuit are going to be written in a way to convince you that the other side is the bad guy. Now you have to figure out where the truth lies.
Yeah. Here's the fallout. They're both going to be damaged from this. Yeah. No one's going to win. It's going to get settled behind the scenes after they're all done posturing and puffing their chests out, their lawyers, I mean. And in the end, this is the way it's going to go. And it's going to hurt Baldoni probably more than Blake, because Blake has Ryan. Baldoni is a small filmmaker. So I think that's what the end result's going to be. But people need to stop. I mean, like, all these people made these videos. I should have believed. And it's like, no, wait till everything comes out. Now everything's come out. Everything's silent and people are pushing back. And so that's why you stay quiet until the whole thing is done. It's different what you did. You were just breaking down the case versus like people were like,
right. And that's what I said when I did my video. It's like, I'm not here to say this side's right, this side's wrong. It's like, I'm covering this because this is a business story. It's got to do with public relations. It's got to do with, I don't even know if I'll follow up. I may, just to sort of be like, because it is an interesting story, but at the same time, it's like, you're going to be doing this if you're trying to
it'll get settled. It'll get settled, but there's so much more to come out. Ronetta W, thank you, Ronetta. Hey guys, happy New Year. I saw Rocha and Dan here. I had to support. Hey, thanks, Dan, I love your charts with Dan. I watch it religiously. Rocha, you're the best. Christian, you're still fabulous. Thank you. Can't stay out back to work. I'll watch later. Thank you, Ronetta.
Thanks, Ronetta. When you get back to working on charts as soon as I'm done.
Yes. When you come back here to watch, we say thank you so much, and hopefully we gave you a good show here.
Yeah.
Owen Lanning. A name I haven't seen as a possible director for Clayface is Lee Winnell. After Invisible Man, I think he would kill it. It's a good choice. It's a good choice.
Yeah, that's not a bad.
I like that.
That's not a bad choice. Yeah. Cosign.
That idea.
You like that too, John?
Yeah, I do. And if what Reeves said last night, where they're considering the Pattinson thing, maybe under Lee Winnell's confident direction, a Pattinson cameo would not be out of the realm of possibility.
Are you referencing Josh Horowitz's interview?
Yes.
I don't know if he said it. I think that
I mean,
the way
he didn't
that
say no,
but the way that I read that
Yeah.
is that I believe the reports that they want it and he doesn't. That's what I read from that interview. He was like, it doesn't seem like he wants to do that at all. But I don't think he's got enough clout to say
that. May be why he said, "Well, we'll see."
That's exactly what that's what I read out of it. Yes, boy. If John Cena is making a wish this year, I hope he is not giving out his new "The Last Time Is Now" merch to the kids. I don't know if I get that one.
Yeah, well, these are Make-A-Wish kids who are probably dying, so he doesn't want to say
last time.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I got it now. But it was his speech last night was pretty. I think John. I felt you going like because they're gonna put him in the Rumble.
Yes,
he's got a shot to win.
I just don't think he's gonna win it. The title, he'll win the IC title or something.
Maybe. Hank Pym, Yeet. Life is good. Mammy is champ once again. Predictable as hell, but still good.
All the faces won.
Love that Liv Morgan.
No idea what's going on right now. That's all right. I'll just sit silently.
Fair enough. Ewok, Dan for the tiebreak.
Oh,
Julia Roberts or Florence Pugh in their primes.
I don't think Dan's going to answer this.
No,
I don't know.
Like in what context? Like who's in their prime?
Yeah, prime 20.
Well, first of all, Florence Pugh's not exactly an old maid.
She's in her prime. She's in her prime.
Yeah. I don't know. Here's the problem. They're two completely different types of beautiful. Like they're not the same type of like.
So what? Dan Murrell's type?
My type?
Yes.
Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Well,
the win.
All right, it's good to see, John.
Not that I would not saying that if Julia Roberts at her peak, were to come up to me, I'm not going to say no, but I mean, if we're just talking about,
well, I think you're both idiots. All right, so Mike Joyce, my top 24, my 2024 top 10, Hitman. I didn't buy the hype in Hitman. Sorry,
I liked it. I just was not on the
Baby Girl. Haven't finished it. Apprentice. Both the guys had that one on. Rebel Ridge. That's another one of those movies. Rebel Ridge.
That was one on my list to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't love the ending of that one. Dune 2. Loved Dune 2. Loved Anora. Super / Man was great.
Oh, great movie. Yep.
Wild Robot. Great. The Order. Which one was The Order?
That's the one with Nicholas Hoult and Jude Law. Jude Law is trying to take down the white supremacists.
Oh,
and,
yes.
It was very good. It was quite good.
Yeah, one that you sent me, Dan, that was on my top 10. I don't know if it was on your top 10. Was Juror number 2?
Oh yeah.
It wasn't on my top 10, but it was shamefully treated. Yes. Nicholas Hoult, who's in The Order and Nosferatu and in Juror number 2, had a great year, and he's not going to get award recognition for anything that he did, and he was great in all those movies.
You asked me a question a few minutes ago, Christian, about politics, and I think this is where Clint Eastwood is getting screwed over, because both Richard Jewell, Juror number 2, these were good damn movies, and they get overlooked or buried by the studio this time around, and no one is talking about them. Yet they're excellent films with fantastic performances.
I love Juror number 2.
And so the fact that no one was talking about this is just. The studio did him a dirty thing and put it on.
They weren't even. Came and went, that movie. Yeah. Renata W. By the way, you guys and Campy are my favorite critics, pundits for recommendations. My favorite shows are number 1, Shogun. Yep. Penguin. Yep. Movies Dune and Deadpool Wolverine. Yeah, we didn't really talk about Deadpool Wolverine because we covered it kind of extensively on the channels in general. Yeah. But that was the biggest, one of the biggest blockbusters, and kind of brought some life back to the comic book movie world. Jacoby B.Y. Agatha was a big surprise for me, but also shout out to the TED Show. As someone who loves the first movies, the show is hysterical. I didn't watch the show. Did you guys watch the show?
I've heard good things.
Roxy loved it.
I think I've seen part of one, but yeah.
That is the Roxy Stryer show for sure.
She loves
Ted Boston and that humor.
Yeah, she
absolutely.
She loves it. Dancing Dog 60. I thought Fallout was great. Amazon was bang on. Another show that I started that never got to finish, but from everything some people love it.
I devoured that one. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Dancing Dog again. Is Hugh Grant too young to play the DCEU Alfred? No,
well,
not really.
If you bring Pattinson in, you got to bring Serkis in. So
right,
you can't separate them.
You're convinced this is going to happen, huh?
I'm becoming more and more convinced, which I don't want to be, but I am.
What do you think about that, Dan? You think it's going to happen?
Bringing him into the DCU overall?
Yeah,
like as their Batman.
It seems to be more and more leaning that way.
Doesn't make sense to me, quite frankly.
I agree. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, as far as I think that's almost what Matt Reeves said in his interview last night for a little bit. And then I'm telling you, I think he's being tugged on going, come on. We got to make this happen. That way you get more movies out. We can make it all work. Blah, blah, blah.
Also, if you're already trying to save your universe this early.
You're
in trouble. Isaac Sanchez. I only saw 8 movies in 2024. The Forge, The Wild Robot, White Christmas 70th Anniversary, Sonic 3, Inside Out 2, Dune Part 2. We didn't talk about Inside Out 2 or Sonic 3. Dune Part 2, the Garfield movie. Was that this year, the Garfield movie?
Yeah, Memorial Day.
Okay.
Chris Pratt one. Yeah.
And Kung Fu Panda 4. Those are some good movies you get.
Which one's The Forge? Is that the one with the what?
It's a sort of geared toward the faith-based audience.
Oh, gotcha.
It actually had. I was doing. Spoiler alert for charts later today, or maybe tomorrow. Who knows? At this point, but given my pace, I'm very slow to put it together. It was one of the best performing as far as legs. Like its final gross versus its opening weekend, it had one of the best performances of the year.
Wow. Okay. And then Jim 1. I love the first half of this was on my list. House of the Dragon season 2, but Warner Brothers cut HBO's budget, and the next battle was pushed to season 3. As a result, the pacing of the second half felt too slow and no big payoff. I get it. I understand that. I was just locked in from start to finish on that show. I absolutely loved that show. But I get the argument that they should have done it. It wasn't the creator's fault. It was definitely HBO.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, unless they cut the budget the day before they filmed or finished locking in the scripts, you could still have, I think, written this season in a more satisfactory manner, even knowing that you got the budget cut. Because I felt it petered out in the second half.
I loved it. Jay Barrett Mash joining the show now. I just watched The Substance this morning, and wow, gloriously excessive in every way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the guy said, and I get the points, and I understand why they did it. I just I'll never watch it ever again.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but before me, I'm glad. But I will say this: I'm very glad that Demi Moore won, not only because because she deserved it. I think she deserved it. She was excellent. Okay, big super chat here by Garage Thing. Thank you so much, Garage.
Wow.
Longtime listener since the Collider days. You guys and your content got me through college and med school. So grateful for y'all. Thank you for time to start paying it back. Well, that's very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the very generous donation. And
he's a doctor. He can afford it.
and the very
that's the information. I got some pains I need to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Just let us know where you are. Just give us free for the healthcare the way it is.
Turns out sitting on our ass for hours a day isn't a good thing for our body.
Checkups the rest of my life. That'll be better. Alexander Wilson, Magnolia Pictures Thelma, starring June Squibb, and the last appearance of Richard Roundtree was one of the best movies in 2024. It's got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's much better than Nosferatu. Have you all seen it? I've heard great things about Thelma. Great things, but I did not see it. Did you guys see it?
Yeah, I saw it at Sundance. Well, not at Sundance. I watched it virtually when it was playing at Sundance, and I thought it was another. This is the thing. Is it 2025 or 2024? I didn't have like very many like hardcore stone cold favorites like locked in, but there was a group of about 30 to 40 movies that were all pretty equal, as far as things I liked. And Thelma was very good. June Squibb was great.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the old people fighting back genre. So it's this with Nobody a few years ago was a Harry Brown, the Michael Caine one.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it when they push back and fight back because
Rocky Balboa.
Rocky. It's a forgotten segment of our society, and I love that they occasionally get these movies that pop out that people can enjoy.
Fabrice, I think The Substance will be talked about for a long time. It is so bold, and the gore feels totally justified in the third act. Dune 2, and then Anora afterwards. I guess that's for the top three. It's a good top three.
Yeah, it's
very good. Very
Dune
solid.
2, I think, is in my top 5. I think it's number 4 on my list.
Yeah, Dune 2 is just that's a movie I could watch anytime it's on. I could watch it over and over and over again. I just absolutely love it. Django, Blackfire. Dan, did you watch the short film Star Trek Unification Thoughts? Why didn't you do the Picard season 3 video after interviewing the showrunner? Thoughts on Section 31 trailer?
The short film Star Trek Unification. I have not seen that. I know that was the title of a TNG two-parter, but I haven't seen a separate short film. The Picard season 3 video after interviewing the showrunner. Yeah, I talked to Terry Matalis, who did Picard season 3, and I really loved that. Quite frankly, time, especially because 2023 and then 2024 were just kind of crazy years, and it was always something I wanted to do. But it was always on my to-do list, and it just never was able to, because I really want to devote a lot of time to that sort of thing, and I just never had the time to sit down and do it. But I try to evangelize Star Trek Picard season 3 as often as I can, because I thought it was very, very good. Section 31 trailer. I am totally out of. I lasted about 3 episodes into the Discovery verse, so I really have no functional knowledge of anything going on that side of Trek. It's just not really my bag.
You've been watching that stuff too, John?
Well, the Unification one, Dan, is the AI one they did, bringing back Kirk and Spock with Sam Witwer. I
don't think I would. I don't know if I would like that, but I will give it a shot.
It was done under the approval of Star Trek. They've done 2 or 3 of these. So
if it went through the proper channels, I'll give it a shot. But I don't. I'm very dicey about that kind of stuff.
I thought it was beautiful, and I got a bone to pick with Terry Matalis, because when the Picard was coming out, he reached out to the Geek Buddies. He DM'd us and was so happy we were reviewing it. And then by the end, we couldn't get him on for an interview. So I'm like, you know what, Terry? So I got a thing to pick with him later on.
We all beat him. We all beat him up pretty bad, to be fair.
Nerds engage. Actors that show up in a supporting role that always makes the project better. Jesse Plemons, Coleman Domingo, Michael Shannon, Donald Gleason, John Lithgow.
Oh, yeah.
Tucci's a good one too.
The Tooch.
Yeah. Like I did this whole thing. I did this thing on Twitter not too long ago where I said if there was one actor that you could have deliver the line, "Can we talk?" I would put John Lithgow.
I feel like J.K. Simmons is now more kind of transitioning, but he's always great in supporting.
Yep.
He's a juror number 2.
Those are good ones.
Giamatti's
Giamatti's going. Yeah, put it on. Come on. Kingsport Cal. Dan, the substance reminds me of the neon demon. Have you seen it? Thoughts on My Old Ass from you guys, and good to see you guys together. So yeah, we didn't talk about My Old Ass. Really good movie.
I liked it a lot.
I did too. John, you like that one?
Yeah, very good. Again, Aubrey Plaza Renaissance, right? She's been so and sad, of course, what happened recently with her husband, but like this has been a career renaissance for her all year. So her and Nicholas Hoult, I think, are the top 2 people that come out of this year who are turning their careers or going next level with their careers for sure.
I gave an award on my channel for MVP actor and MVP actress of 2024. My MVP actor was Nicholas Hoult, and my MVP actress was Aubrey Plaza. So I agree with you, John.
There you go.
Did you see the Neon Demon?
I did not. No.
Okay.
I wasn't. I don't think I was reviewing when that came out, so I didn't see as many movies.
Yeah, that's weird.
Prady BK. Hey Dan, you don't do live streams, so I never get to send you super chats. I just want to say I love you and your work. Cheers.
Thank you. And spoiler alert, that is going to change this year.
Nice. There you go.
Part of my 2025 plan.
Big reveal here. Joe Ryder, big fan. Letterboxd, thoughts on celebs asked there for faves. Wait, Letterboxd.
Asked for their faves, I think.
Thoughts on celebrities asked.
Says I love Letterboxd. Thoughts on celebs being asked about their 4 favorites, which happens on the red carpet.
Yeah.
Favorite what?
Movies.
Favorite films.
Oh, list your 4 favorite movies.
People ask. Oh, okay. What I mean, it's fine. Usually full of indie, foreign, over pop ones. Is that expected since they're in the biz? Yeah, I mean, nobody. Do you think that sometimes they don't tell you like the real choices because they don't want to be looked upon? Like,
I actually think Joe's wrong. I've seen quite a few people mention like Back to the Future or Lethal Weapon. I've seen quite a few mention the pop favorites.
100% there are people that don't tell their real favorites because they know that they are going to be picked over and griped at. And one of my last big Twitter things was when they did the Sight and Sound poll, and Ty West listed his favorite movies, and whatever Twitter, Reddit decided that they were too normie because he listed the American classics as his favorites. So like, I would think someone would be more ambitious with it's just like, yeah, I'm sorry he listed 10 stone cold classic movies as his 10 favorite. It's like, I wouldn't answer the question, to be honest, because all it's going to do is people like, oh, Tom Holland doesn't really like Akira Kurosawa. Right. He's just saying it to be cool.
Right,
like,
right. Yeah. You can't win.
No thanks. Yeah.
Oh,
I feel for any celebrity that's asked to list their 4 favorites because all it's going to do is inspire people to complain about them.
Yeah. True.
Hey, John, here's your buddy, Evil John Madden. Christian, you're awesome. Dan, you're a god. Rocha, is this an insult? I assume. Rocha?
Yeah, he's saying muscle man is half and half.
Oh, half and half.
He picked the 2 white guys. Evil, what's that say about you, Evil John Madden? What's that say about you, buddy boy? Huh? Where's your hood at, Evil John Madden?
Where's your hood at? Joey Pedros, I thought I saw the TV glow would have been a bigger punch in 2024. Do you guys think it deserved more attention? So the TV glow. What's the TV glow?
I saw the TV glow. It's a movie, A24. It also came out of Sundance. I think it's very abstract, and I saw it once, and then once I learned more about the kind of intention behind it and the director of the movie and the sort of the metaphor and I appreciated a lot more when I rewatched it. But I think part of it is it's hard to get your head around the first time, and there's a lot of people that don't give it a second time, and so I think that might be why we're not seeing more of it.
All right, so there's the next one here. Prady BK. 5 of the top 10 worldwide box office movies of 24 are animated. Yeah, John, you spoke about this quite a while yesterday. Yeah. I don't like that the Oscars created a separate category for animation. Insulting, in my opinion. Should the Oscars allow animated films to compete for Best Picture again? Well, I think they can compete.
They can. Yeah, they can compete. They're allowed.
Yeah.
The problem is that they were never getting nominated.
Right.
So I think in an ideal world, yes, they should be seen on equal footing. But if the decision is between don't have an animated category and those movies don't win Oscars, or do, and they can maybe be seen as, also rans, I would prefer the one where they at least get a chance to win.
Yeah, I think your argument is not with the Oscars or the body. I think your argument is with the voters. That's your argument. Like, why aren't they considering these animated films on the same level as live action films?
Do you want me to? So, Evil John Madden said it's sad that you didn't keep that mustache to the end.
The El Guapo.
Yeah, the one yesterday.
Badgers. I told you I had to shave every 2 days. I have to shave.
Jesus Fernandez. The two films that I endure this year were the humanist vampire seeking consent suicidal person, and sometimes I think about dying. Any of you seen them? If not, I recommend them. No,
I've seen Sometimes I Think About Dying. It's very good. Daisy Ridley is very good in it. Very, very good in it.
I keep waiting for her to have that one big role that separates her from Star Wars once and for all, man. She's so good actress.
She's doing it, but nobody's paying attention.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, I thought she was great in Old Man in the Sea. Oh, I mean, a Young Woman in the Sea. Whatever it was. Yeah. It was good.
That's the sequel.
That's the sequel. Yeah, or the prequel. Yeah, exactly. Ewok, what would you like to see Coralie Fargate do next? That's from Substance, right?
Yeah, whatever she wants.
Yeah. She said she was not. People have asked her to do a sequel to Substance. She's like, I'm not doing a sequel. Leave it alone. I love that.
Leave it alone. Yeah, leave it alone. Yeah. Jesus follows it up. Any guilty pleasures this year? One of mine is The Instigators with Affleck and Damon. It is not great, but I had a great time for some reason. I had just had this long conversation today about Matt Serra's show up, and he hated the movie. I think I'm the only person that liked the movie, The War of Rohirrim. I think I'm the only person on this planet that liked that movie.
You have any, Rocha?
I don't think I have any, to be honest with you. I don't think I saw enough to have any guilty pleasures.
Carry On.
Oh yeah,
the TJ Fixman.
But I think that was a little bit better than just a guilty pleasure. Pure guilty pleasure, The Beekeeper.
Oh yes, I will go with that one.
Oh, that movie was made to be a guilty pleasure.
That was a lot of fun.
Terrible movie, but a real guilty.
So much fun. Nick Alexander, hey all, loving the movie reactions, Christian. Thank you. We just put Iron Man 3 up right before this show. Nice. Love the Geek Buddies, Rocha.
Thank you.
Question for Dan: are you aware of Kevin Smith's Moose Jaws? Are you interested?
I mean, he's been pitching that for years now, saying that's going to be his next movie. I have a soft spot for Kevin Smith, so I am generally interested in whatever he's working on, but curious to see if it's ever going to come to fruition.
Martial art film freak. Did anyone see The Shadow Stray or Life After Fighting? Both in my top 5 of 2024. Yes, you know what I've realized after 2024 for me is definitely the biggest. Like when people ask you if you've got the holes in your game, it's like what are the spots you're missing, blind spots. 2024 is going to be my year for sure. I missed a lot of stuff this year.
Yeah, but these are like,
I know there's some, but there's
a low level martial arts movies. So
yeah, but still. Jonathan Caro, what was your favorite shot image of 2024? For me, without spoiling, it's the last shot of Anora. Picture worth 1,000 words. It's great. I mean, so many. I mean, I think that shot of Paul Atreides with the blade up. That's kind of always gonna. I'm always gonna think about that. John, you got one?
Yeah, I think the shot in Conclave when the near the end after the vote when the light's coming through, it's like God coming through to finally show them the way. I thought that was an awesome image.
There's a movie from India called All We Imagine Is Light, which did not get submitted by them for Best International Feature. And the final shot of the movie, it's nothing complicated, but it just really sort of summed up the whole movie to me in a very beautiful, simple way.
This is one that I keep hearing one about. Nickel Boys is the film of the year by miles. Absolutely incredible storytelling on supply. And Saturday Night, underrated too. I loved Saturday Night. Did make my top 10. Saturday Night made my top 10. But I did not see Nickel Boys. Did you guys see Nickel Boys?
Mm-hmm. I thought the story was great. For me, I felt that the stylistic choice of the film kind of undercut the storytelling. I understood what they were going for there, and it was well executed, but I feel like it maybe was hurt a little bit by the decision on form. But it's a very good story.
I agree. The form worked in certain moments and didn't work in other moments, which kept it from going in top 10 for me. But I thought the film was good. overall. Yeah.
Django Blackfire. Happy to see you three together again. Y'all should do movie trivia or lives like this. Lives probably more likely. Saves travel money. Dan, do you think Star Trek will make a comeback?
Well, boy, I hope so. It's never been a franchise that, like Star Wars, that's going to be embraced by a massive amount of people. So I think that they got very ambitious and overextended themselves. But I think the principles at the heart of Star Trek are universal and never go out. So my hope is that they figure it out, because they just need to realize that not every franchise is going to be a multi-billion-dollar, Avengers franchise. You have to make things for the people that want to see what you're watching or what you're making.
G. Coldboy. Best shows. Shout out to X-Men 97 and Shrinking. Yep. John, you had X-Men 97 on your list. So
yeah.
You
loved it.
Yep.
Okay. Elusive Rock. My number one was Anora. Don't tell my horror movie friends. But I think I might have connected with Mikey's character on another level, especially that final shot. We all just want affection at the end of the day. Hashtag divorce. Divorce sucks. Yeah. It's like, well, that's a great point, right? It's like that really is, and it can mean so many different things for people and relate to so many different people, so many different ways.
He saw her. He saw her, which is why she gave herself to him. He saw who she really was and accepted her for who she really was. And I thought that was beautiful in a messed up way.
Yeah, it was. Okay, so the great, where is he? Gopal. Great show. Love the collab. Thank you, Gopal. Yeah, we're excited. We love doing it.
Yeah.
We love doing it. We're gonna do it. We'll do it. Make sure that you're probably gonna get 2 this year. You'll get one in January of this year, and then you get one in December of 2025. G. Colby. Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Donald Glover was really good, and I love My Ice Cream after this and Blue Eye Samurai. Oh yeah, you love Blue Eye Samurai, right, John?
Yeah, it took me a long while to come around to a lot of my followers were like, "You got to watch this. This is your jam." And then when I started it, I couldn't stop. So I finished it in 2 days. It's so good.
This is Evil John Madden. Rocha, Dan needs to be on Geek Buddies. That would be awesome. For the love of God, please start doing Geek Buddies live so I can come and send fun comments.
It's tough. The guys are working. We were trying to line one up for today live, but we're not going live because of Michael's working on an animation project. So we're just going to record an episode. But yeah, Dan always has an open invitation, but Dan's super busy all the time. So, I will absolutely make more of an effort in 2025 to try to have him. Yeah, if he would want to come on, because we'd love to have him talk about some of these topics for sure.
Unknown. Watch Saturday Night. Loved it. Top 3 this year. Yeah. It wasn't in your top, Dan? You didn't love it?
It was not. I didn't love it. I liked it. I just felt it's sort of similar to Nickel Boys. I felt the decision to do the whole real time thing kind of constrained how they were able to tell the story and stretch things a little too far beyond. I don't know.
Reality.
For me.
Yeah.
It was a little too much for me.
That's fine. Stephanie Litz. I keep laughing at the Glazer Sandler's Chalamet bit. It was great. She showed that you didn't have to just be shocked. You could also just be fun and goofy. Mm-hmm. And did you hear the ones that she did on Stern? She has a Stern file.
Oh,
did you hear
my God.
Even better.
Those were brutal. The Nicole Kidman one had me on the floor.
That's hilarious. She's so good. Dennis Hoffman, underrated or guilty pleasure movie of the year. We just did it before. Dan, I think Dan nailed it with Beekeeper. Mine was Land of Bad, Hemsworth Surprises, and Russell Crowe was great. I did not see it, but I'm going to steal Dan's in Beekeeper. I think it was a great.
I'm going to throw one in, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Oh,
I loved it.
But I don't know if is that a guilty movie pleasure? I just think it's a good movie.
Nobody saw it.
I think underrated.
Nobody saw it.
Yeah, nobody saw it. I think it's an. He did say. He says underrated.
Yeah,
okay.
underrated.
Yeah. So yes, I agree with you, John. That was a really good movie, and nobody saw it.
Yeah, so crazy.
Totally agree. Parody, BK. I love the shirt, Christian. I feel that the show changed television forever. I was talking about Lost. It was the first show to be a global phenomenon. Lost was a turning point in television. Watching weekly episodes were group events. We have to go back. Yeah, it was pretty solid. I mean, Sopranos was pretty big at that point too. Not in the same way with network television, but yeah, Lost definitely changed the game as far as that's a show that if it comes out today, there's no world that's network television.
No, not a chance. Yeah. That's on Netflix, and they cancel it after season.
Probably. Joyce Romer, may the force be with you guys, and also with you. Joe Hendo TV. I have an interview for a freelance writing position in my local paper. Any advice on how much it pays? I have no idea. that was the interview advice, maybe, but how much it pays, I don't know.
I would not set. I wouldn't be aggressive with your expectations.
Yeah, totally fair. Good luck. Just you know what? Just go in for the experience.
How much does McDonald's cost in your area? It's probably what you get.
Yeah, it's probably your best
article. Yeah.
Pete Parker, 2288, missing the schmoes days. What was Ellis's hottest take? His 5 for 5 for Elysium or 13 hours? 13 hours. 5 hours. 5 out of 5 for a Michael Bay movie is should be arrested. Oof. By the way, Just Friends is a Christmas classic. That is the last time you're allowed it here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Evil John Madden, not a joke. Krull, one of the best movies of the 80s, needs a reboot. Such a great movie that would be even better with today's effects. I don't disagree with him.
100%.
Those are the movies. I think Spencer said this. I agree with this. The movies that they should be remaking and redoing right now are the ones that have good ideas, that maybe the execution wasn't quite there at the time, but that have like a solid foundation. That's what we should be redoing.
I think there's a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen that could knock our socks off if you found the right filmmaker, because that film had interesting ideas, didn't quite get there. And there's a great story from Alan Moore in that graphic novel to tell.
Yeah. Jay Barrett Mash. I made a movie comment, so now I'll do TV. I love Bad Monkey. That was on Rocha's list also. It's a good show. This season of The Boys, which I got to catch up on, and Shrinking, also great show. So those are 3 solid picks for TV right now. There's a lot.
Bad Monkey
of
was
TV.
Such a surprise, dude.
It was
such a surprise.
Apple is doing good stuff, man. I'm telling you. And then Armada follows that same thing up as his Bad Monkey show on Apple was fun too. It was really, really good, and it was a good Vince Vaughn performance. That it was like, but it fits. Sometimes it's like, oh, he's just doing Vince Vaughn, and then there's other times like, oh, he's doing Vince Vaughn.
Yeah,
and that was one of those.
And Michelle Monaghan was damn good as well.
Great. Gopal who says, is Nick Holt too busy at DC to do Bond?
TBD.
I think he's too busy.
Yeah,
too busy. Paul Marquez, the big 3. Thank you, Paul.
Oh, thank you.
And then Pete Parker, 2288. How great was that Merlin scene in Transformers? You stop that, Pete Parker. You stop that. You're doing that to just drive me crazy.
The Tooch.
Stupidest scene ever.
Tooch almost made it work. That's how good he is. He almost made it work.
That's horrendous. What the hell were they doing?
Even I knew that was too far. Even though
whoever told Michael Bay he was funny is a mean person. Evil John Madden saw the Bollywood version of Superman.
Oh my God!
Even that is better than Man of Steel. Oh,
get out of here!
Brutal.
Man of Steel's
so
good.
John, why don't you do live streams so he can come leave you comments like that every week?
Yeah. Oh, he does. He just never shows up and donates.
Dancing Dog 60. What's the worst film? Geostorm or Battleship? Battleship.
Yeah, Battleship's where Geostorm is more enjoyable on the Gerard Butler level. Battleship is just bad.
It's bad. Go Pal. As a huge Skins fan, I love seeing Holt and Kaya Escudero getting in good things. Also, Kaluuya and others.
I also watched Skins. I think it was on Netflix briefly, like 15 years ago. And it's weird to see how many people that would go. And Dev Patel is on the show. And it's Holt. And it's crazy.
All right, a few more here. Omar Mir, can't watch live, but I still wanted to support Dan and Roki. 3 are legends, and thank you for all the countless endless content over the years. Yes, it was a play. It's one of my favorite shows of the year when the 3 of us can get together. So I'm glad that you guys are also enjoying it. Mike Joyce, happy to see hundreds of beavers in your top 10. Dan, is that a good one?
Yes, it is. It is the rebirth of Charlie Chaplin, Looney Tunes, Buster Keaton, all rolled into one.
Oh, really?
It's stupid. It's so stupid.
Okay,
but it's these guys up in the Midwest who are like, oh, we want to make a movie, and they spent like 3 years out in the snow making this movie called Hundreds of Beavers, where this guy's fighting off hundreds of beavers, and it's the funniest movie I saw in 2024.
Sounds right up my alley.
You can watch it for free on YouTube.
Yeah,
sounds right up my alley. Matt Thomas, hello and happy New Year's, guys. Thank you, Matt. Got to be on brand and ask Dan about his feelings going to the new Superman film. # Cleveland Rocks. # Views from Metropolis.
Optimistic, hopeful. The Superman stuff in the trailer that looked amazing. Curious to see how James Gunn weaves in all these other characters that he's got going on, but very, very hopeful and optimistic.
This one I'll give to John. It's me, Steve-O. Who wins the Royal Rumble? Also, Fly Eagle. Stop that.
Probably Cena.
You think he's probably going to win it?
Probably come in at 28 and win it because he can't wrestle anymore.
I'd love to see him go in at 1 and win it.
Yeah, that'd be insane to ask that body to do that.
No way he would be able to do that. Armada. Anyone seen Seen It's What's Inside on Netflix? I heard it was good. Also, anyone seen The Return with Ray Fiennes yet?
No and no, but I've heard they're both good.
No and no, both on my end as well. John?
No, I haven't seen. That's the. What is that one? The one with the Ray Fiennes? Is that the?
He's the Odyssey. He's like Odysseus.
Oh, it's the Odyssey, the French one. I haven't seen that one, or the Italian one. I haven't seen that one. Yeah. Sure.
Oh man, this is Matt Thomas thanking the Giants for the second pick. Go Browns, stupid Giants. They lose all season, win the one time. Stupid idiots.
You're still trying to bring back Deshaun Watson. Go Browns. Yikes.
So stupid. Ewok. What movies will make $1 billion this year? Ooh, it's a tough one. What animated ones? Always bet on the animated ones.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I think we were all off on Despicable Me, but
almost though 900 something.
Close.
It was close.
Avatar only got this year.
Avatar makes $1 billion.
Avatar. It's tough to say definitively what's going to absolutely make $1 billion. None of the Marvel movies I think are a lock.
No. I know you're going to shake. I know you're going to shake when I say this, Dan, but it's Vegas odds. I would say to the new Jurassic World.
Oh, that's a smart bet. Honestly, it's a smart bet.
They all make $1 billion. They keep making $1 billion.
This is how it goes.
It's an international movie.
Yeah, for some reason. Avatar, Jurassic World. I think Superman has a shot and Fantastic Four has a shot if they're both really, really good.
A shot, but it's gonna be tough. Mike, is there any hope for Star Trek? I'm hearing bad things about Section 31. Look at Rocha. It's like, what are you talking about?
I don't understand what's happening. Picard season 3 was incredible. What do we do? People love Lower Decks. Where is this negativity around Star Trek? I'm very confused. Section 31 is going to come and go. It's not a big deal, but Star Trek is very much solidified here and is going to be going to the next level, especially as Paramount has changed hands. They are committed to uplifting their IP. So we're going to get a lot more Star Trek coming out. I don't know where people are buying this thing that it's dying.
No, it's just the fallout from what's happened to it over the last 5 to 8 years.
Pete Parker, 2288. What was Bibiani's list this year? Red Shoe Part 3, Left Not Right,
10 obscure films,
Obscure 43, and Don't Touch the Leaf because it's not really there.
We thought Joker 2 was the best film of the year. Number one, I think he's gonna have Joker 2.
Yeah. Armada. Any love for Saturday Night and Furiosa? Yes, they're both in my top 10. Both of them. Furiosa was a very underrated movie.
I have like for both of them.
Yeah. Ditto.
John, you're going to see something here that you never see.
Okay.
A super chat that's coming in from PLD while you're on this.
What?
What?
You get hit in the head? What's going on here?
It's a sign of how much I like and respect Dan that I donate on a Rocha. I got here late, but Saturday Night and Love Lies Bleeding with Ed Harris. People love that movie too, huh?
Yeah, Love Lies Bleeding.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah. I gotta check that one. I like Katie O'Brien a lot, so I want to check it out.
By the way, that does not count to our overall total.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay. Well, thank you, PLD. Michael Miles, the official most anticipated movies list of 2025. Oh. Fantastic Four. Yeah. Thunderbolts, Captain America 4, Avatar, Sinners, Superman, Mission Impossible, Ballerina, Jurassic. Love you guys. Thank you, Michael. A lot of those movies are on my list. Yeah. There's a lot of them on my list.
I'd have to move Ballerina out, but he's pretty close. Yeah.
Ballerina's is climbing up there because from what I hear is that they basically moved Len Weissman off the movie and they just
reshot
took over and shot the whole thing. But those are great ones. Am I anticipated? Did you guys do anticipated yet?
Not yet.
No, I haven't really done anticipated. I've just done like a preview.
I'm going to do that. Martin Short.
Schwarzenegger.
Or Schwarzenegger. I recently watched Room with Brie Larson, and I can't believe it isn't talked about more. It really is a good movie because I was so taken aback by her performance. Have you seen it? And what do you thought? She was phenomenal in it. And
she won Best Actress.
She did at the time. She got a lot of it. I think it's just not one of those movies that's really rewatchable.
The problem is she moved into Captain Marvel and people went after her for that instead of lauding her for what she did in The Room and looking forward to the next independent film or smaller film or bigger film she's going to be part of. So it kind of killed all the gas, unfortunately, because I think she's good in that film. Good in
it's a very good movie. I do agree that the movie itself you don't hear talked about as much. And it's
Rocha had this one on his list. Amount of thoughts on Sing Sing. Rocha, go ahead.
Oh, fantastic film. Really. I mean, you've seen films before where they use real life people as these characters to play, telling their story. I've never seen it work so effectively as it does with Sing Sing. And I thought Coleman Domingo, once again, really stepping up to the plate with the choices he's making to showcase how good of an actor he is. And it's not what you think when you watch it. It's not the prison guys do Shakespeare and really redeem themselves. It's a much more deeper exploration of the system that we have in place for prisoners and what happens to prisoners and how they can find their way out and what happens when they do. So much about this film is where it's a great human story that will affect you emotionally when you see it. So
I love A24 and I will defend them in most things, but they need to be taken out behind the woodshed for what they did with whatever strategy they have with this movie. This halfway sort of limited release at the end of the summer, and then it's disappeared, and now they say they're going to. I don't know what they're thinking with this thing.
And giving away tickets. It's weird.
It's weird. Armada, maybe the director of Substance can do Clayface.
That's the last thing I'd want to see.
She already did it. She already did it.
She did it. She did the best version of Clayface I could possibly imagine.
An actress changing faces. Yeah, it's very much already Clayface.
Paul Marquez puts in a nice one there. Thank you so much. It's only a couple more left, Dan, if that's okay.
That's right.
Jason Ashcroft, House of the Dragon was my favorite content of the year. It's my new favorite universe. That's if you haven't talked about it yet. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, we talked about it briefly. Yeah. I think that out of the three of us, I liked it the most. I understand the complaint about people wanting it to have had a big kind of finale at the end, but I'm locked in. The only thing that I'm bummed about is that it's going to take time to get there before we finally get it. But we're going to get another Game of Thrones series this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Alan Smithy, great to see Dan back with the crew. If you guys could have one more Schmodown match against anyone you wanted to, dead or alive, who would it be? I think everybody's alive. So.
No, who's dead?
Well, I mean, yeah, we have, who would you want?
I mean, if we're constraining it to Schmodown folk, get the Kevin Smith match, man. I wanted to do that for years, and it just never happened.
I know, and we never even get to have Kevin Smith do one live or in studio.
Look, this is not recency bias. I want my vengeance on Dan for that TKO. But putting that aside, me and Jericho, I would have loved to have gone toe to toe, promo wise, with Chris Jericho at a live event. That would have just, for me personally, as a pro wrestling fan for decades, would have meant the world to me to go toe to toe with Chris Jericho. So
good. PLD Projects. Hey, The Rock is a 5 out of 5 Michael Bay movie. I'll agree.
I'll agree with that.
I'll agree with you. I'm not going to disagree. It's a great one. That one you can get 5 out of 5.
It's ironically a 3 out of 5 for me, and I'm a Michael Bay stan. And I still can't like.
All right, Nerdy Mastermind. I've been on an early 2000s action movie kick. I rewatched Punisher from 2004 last night, and I don't care what anyone says. It's a fun movie.
Is that the Thomas Jane one, or is that the Ray
Stevens? I think it's the Thomas Jane.
It's Thomas Jane, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the Thomas Jane. That's the Travolta one.
I like the Stevenson one better.
Yeah, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, Travolta's fun.
Jim 1 doesn't seem to be a lot of hype for Cap 4. I know, given it's coming out in 5 weeks. Hope it's good, but it feels like it's a wait for Disney Plus until it's. I think that movie's going to do very poorly.
For charts later today, I did a member poll on my channel. Which 2025 comic book movie are you most excited about? Cap 4 came in last by a fairly large margin.
Yeah, it's gonna eat it. I think.
It doesn't help Christian that it keeps going the Cats route with multiple reshoots. Like they're going to keep working on that film until the day it premieres.
I know. I fear for that movie. Rocha, luckily that Scum is out for next year, Matt Thomas. Right? I guess that's
so you think.
We'll see. Again, the Giants shit the bed. Oh, they didn't shit the bed. They should have shit the bed. D. Murdoch, what do you think for DCU's Batman? Brolin, Richardson? I'm with John. I think it's more likely we're going to get Pattinson.
And Brolin already liked Boss Logic's artwork of him as Darkseid. There have been rumors he's been talking to DCU about a big role, so I would not be surprised if that's Brolin low key showing you he's going to be Darkseid down the road.
Philly G putting in a super sticker. Thank you, Philly G. And that's it, guys.
Yay,
we did it. So
we did it.
We still, but here, John, you got this. You without Dan. You had 105 with Dan 102, so you still won. You won.
Dan Murrell should have been at least a 50
102.
Swing.
Dan shows up and does 100. That's not easy to do. So
what we're keeping score? What was the
we do basically from the questions of what comes in from each host. who takes the week.
Oh, I see.
Because I usually have a different. John's not usually on more than once. Well, last week he was, but normally it's once a week. So we see who does the most for the week. And so as a guest performer, that's a strong performance with 102. So there
all right, I'll take it.
Go. But Dan, why don't you start, man, with that? Why don't you let us know where they can find you, what's going on with the channel, all that and more.
Yeah, youtube.com/Dan Murrell Movies. I have a podcast feed if you like to listen to the show. You can find that on Apple and Spotify and all those different things. I have a Patreon where I do Q&A every month. I like to kind of do whatever I can. And as I alluded to earlier, 2025 is going to be a year where I'm going to be trying some new stuff. I'm going to look into doing a live show every week, which has been on my list for a very long time. I've got a new show idea that I've been sort of pitching around, trying to get some people on board for. So, this year it's very much about I want to keep doing the stuff that you guys like to watch and that you love, but also trying some new stuff. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Corn Emperor is trying to get you over that hump right now. Is put Dan Murrell following. He's got you at 104. So we're almost tied with Rocha. All right.
We gotta go, man.
Stop the count. Stop the count.
So John, so it's up to you for as long as you plug. Because you just got 105. You just got tied. So tied there with unknown. Yeah. Cap 4 is going to be good. I'll bet my left kidney. So it's tied at the moment. So you got to get that plug out there.
That's ironic because he donated left kidney to me. You can follow me at the Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. But youtube.com/John Rocha Says. Just like Dan, you got to create new things every time. And so I'm working on new things here on the channel as well, and things that we're trying to do, more shorts, more shorter form content. I already do live shows, so adding more stuff to the channel. I'm going to keep going until all the things come in. But yeah, come and follow me and all the stuff we got going on. We got Geek Buddies coming up later on today, Jedi Way coming up this week, and also the Hot Mic, Jeff and I battling over the big news items that are going around in town. And now that Dan has said he'd be open for it, I'll be reaching out to him and see if we can get Dan on the channel a few more times throughout the rest of the year. So thank you guys so much, and what a blast. It's an honor to be considered in the same a group with you two. So thanks so much for having me on, Chris.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you guys on. And with Corn Emperor, Elusive Rock, and Corn Emperor, once again, we're at 108. So we'll see. Oh, I lie. 110. Now we had Philly G says what? Paige Chandra says, I love you three. Thank you, Paige.
Thank
you. So now we'll see. At 110, can Roxy dethrone the founding fathers? Let's see if they can do it. So, all right, guys, thanks you guys so much. As I say to you guys each and every time, I'm so glad that you guys were able to come in here and do this. I love this. It's one of my favorite shows. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to do this. I look forward to doing more stuff with you guys this year. So, guys, the great Dan Murrell and John Rocha, guys, thank you so very much for being here. And for you guys, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found, make sure you check out our Clips channel. I just put up the Iron Man 3 reaction. You can go and you can check that out today. Please do that. But that's it. So check out our wonderful sponsors. I love you guys. Appreciate you. We'll see you on the flip side.